Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lost Planning the Interwebs. I got frosting on my shirt. I'm your host, Nick Ricada of Ricada Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. How you doing tonight? How we doing, chat? I hope you're doing well. It's up to YouTube. Big shout out to Rumble. Also, I hope you guys, again, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good night. Good day. I'm having a pretty good day. I'm doing pretty well. I'm I'm like, what? I look different. I look different. I don't have my lights on. I was eating one of those cookies with frosting all over me you get from Walmart. Hold on. There we go. There's a little bit more light. I can be blinded now. How you guys doing? Hi. Oh, man, I feel better in the light, clearly. It changed everything. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, hey, guys, we've got a show today. I've got a big update in my case. What is happening? There's noise out there. What's that noise? Who's out there? Oh, goodness gracious. Got a big update in my case. I mean, it was technically yesterday. I kind of talked, I posted about it. A lot of other people talked about it. But I'll kind of give you an update. A pulse check, if you will. But we're going to wait a little bit to start that. I just want to get, some people the opportunity to catch up and realize that the show is on. I know I haven't been streaming as much lately, so people don't, have that consistency and expectation. Is that a weed cookie? No. And for everybody who wonders, no, this is Bubbler, which is not an alcoholic drink. Jesus Christ. You weirdos out there. Anyway, so we do have a huge update in the case. It's a major sort of turning point. Sort of. We'll talk about it. I mean, it's a huge turning point for me, and it's a change in focus, and it's a change in everything that way. So I'll discuss what I can. The big news. I mean, the big news is simple. My kids are home. And it's I can't express to you, changing some windows around. I really can't express to you like what that means for us as far as like just a fucking respite from this bullshit. There's a whole fucking lot that's been said about me. It's been said about us, and it's I don't really get to talk about it in the way that I would want to, because I've still got ongoing legal issues that are extremely serious. I've never downplayed them or anything. And because the system is the way it is, you really can't do things the way I would normally do them. And that sucks, but it is. But I'm going to give you an update. And I'm going to try maybe a little bit to address some of the stuff that's out there and kind of put it to bed a little bit. I don't know how else to say it. So we'll get there in a few. We're not going to do that right away. We'll get there in a few. And then I'll talk about what's coming next in the overall legal issues facing me. I still have 2 pending legal matters. One of them involves a state, and the other one involves a stated retard, and that's Montegraph and his little gay lawyer. Oh, I shouldn't call David Schneider gay. He'll say that's he'll probably, I don't know, file another ethics report or something. Whenever I talk, David Schneider files an ethics report against me. He's like, "Oh my God, Nick said something." It's like, yeah, really, really free speech in yourself there, bud. But yeah, he's I can't call him gay. I guess he would say that was like offensive or disparaging or something. I'm like, why do you hate gays, you weird gay? But yeah, we're not talking about that too much. Feeling a little Canadian. I've been watching Letterkenny, so I kind of got like this Canadian thing going. I'm not even trying, you know. Figure Viva's not up there. Maybe I should go. Feel less totalitarian than the government around here. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But no, so I still have my pending legal matter with Montegraph. Obviously, that's not related to my state issues, but my criminal case is still ongoing. But I'm going to try and dispel some of the stuff as I can around the family case. It's not going to be too detailed. Don't get your hopes up too high, because that's just like, I don't want to set expectations. But other than that, which we'll get to in just a bit, I do want to talk a little bit of Kamala Harris, tech support of the vice president, and our new vice president nominee, which is great because he is a consummate bridesmaid. Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. Guys, Minnesota hates me enough that they're like, here, not only do you have to live in this shithole state, these horrible people, but you also get your fucking governor to possibly be the vice president, be the vice president candidate with the nightmare administration of Kamala Harris and Tim fucking Walz. That'd be just wonderful, wouldn't it? You're welcome. You're welcome, Earth. Oh, God. Someone's like, why Tim Walz? It's like, because God is mad. Because God is angry, probably with me. Sorry. No, I hate this guy. I can't. Minnesota's the most bitch state. We have the Summer of Love in 2020, where Walz, in conjunction with Mayor Jacob Frey, wow, you could do two gay jokes with his name. Anyway, Jacob Frey, of Mayor of Minneapolis, where they give the stand down order to just let the rioters have, I think it was the 3rd precinct in Minneapolis. They're just like, let them take it. Just let them take it. Just get out a couple of the computers. And then they burn the fucking thing to the ground. It's like, you guys didn't even try. You didn't hold the city's police precinct because people were mad that, like, Chauvin or whatever. They just fucking lost their minds. And then the state and the city, respectively, voted them both back in. And now they're like, you know what? He can be VP. What a pick for Kamala Harris. I think she picked him, honestly, because he's like Gavin Newsom, only less charismatic. He's less charismatic than Gavin Newsom, which means he's less of a threat to Kamala Harris. And to be unthreatening to Kamala Harris, like, the amount of non-charisma you need to accomplish that is very high, because she is an ugly woman. She's not pretty. Like, they say she, like, I don't know, blew her way to the top, or some very derogatory stereotypical thing about high-powered women or whatever, because vacuum cleaner. I don't even know how to finish the show. Something very offensive about women and using their bodies to get ahead in life. But Kamala Harris, like, someone had to accept the offer. That's the worst part. Like, if you're trying to have sex to get to your way to the top, like, you'd think you'd be desirable. by the people that are the ladder rungs, like, right? Like, I mean, a lot of people's goal in life is to be a rung on the corporate ladder, like a big one, like up top. But so then when Kamala's like hand job comes up to grab onto your rung, I'd kind of be like, well, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be a notch in your goblin post or whatever that is. I don't know. She's nasty. I don't get it. I don't understand. Never mind. I don't need to. I don't need to understand. I don't need to understand the dynamics of people having sex with Kamala Harris. But Tim Walz has to be even uglier. That was my point. Sorry, I got off track, like, because I got disgusted and horrified, and then I longed for better days. Where it's like, well, at least Al Gore's a better looking woman than Kamala Harris. But no, Tim Walz is even uglier. But he's just like Gavin Newsom in his policies and his approaches. Minnesota isn't Diet California. It's just California, but with Midwest looks. And it's always how it's been. Walz is a Minnesota 8 or whatever. And so I think that's why they picked him. It's like all of the progressiveness, but none of the hair gel. There we go. I'm trying to wake up. I was like almost asleep. I was like, oh my God, it's after 11. I got to get downstairs. Kamala was attractive when she was young, but not since. Oh God. Monty is going to eat me. Well, he should save the eating for what he really likes to eat. I think we've covered that one already. Okay. We got some chats. Let's hit these chats and then we'll get into the show. Well, so we're going to talk about, look, I wanted an excuse to talk about Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And one of that is this article I found. Do you guys know what coding is? Not like the coding you're thinking of, like not learning to code, not what journalists do or whatever. But coding is what happens like when I hang around Drexel and I start saying, talking like a white guy or whatever. No, you code a certain race. Like you can code black and be like, hey, yo, I only smoke menthols or whatever. Or you code Jewish and you're like, have me all your teeth. You have like different diction and dialect and different vernacular based on the race you're trying to emulate or chameleon in with. And, Trump basically called Kamala Harris out on this. He's like, oh, she's black today. She wasn't very black yesterday, but today, very black, very dark. Not quite sure what's going on. They don't have tanning beds that would accept her. Nobody would accept her. And so he calls her out on this, and now the media is running cover like as if this is fine. Like this, it's okay to do the coding black thing. It's like, well, but is it? Like normally you would call that appropriations anywhere else. But yeah. So I have a throwaway article, but it should be funny because it'll be someone, probably a fat white woman, lecturing, or a fat white guy lecturing us on why it's perfectly okay for this non-black woman who's like half Indian and half, is she Indian and Indian? No, she's Jamaican, but like, I don't even know what aggregation of races is Kamala Harris. It's like a fucking day at the Olympics. Like what races are today? But I'm not sure. But it's always going to be some fatso like lecturing us on why it's okay this time. But yeah, so we've got that. And then Neil Gorsuch wrote a warning to Joe Biden in response to, wrote. Supreme Court justices don't write. Like they don't even have to write. Their clerks write everything. But anyway, he had a warning for Joe Biden a couple days ago, and it was on a Fox News interview. So we're going to talk about that a little bit because it goes back to court reforms of the judiciary, not like court reforms for us, for the little people, reforms for the big people, which is the Supreme Court. And that's about power and the conflict of power between the different branches of government and federalism and republicanism and la da 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 da. What is this? Oh my goodness. So we're going to talk about that too. And I hope you enjoy it. All right. Indian, Irish, Jamaican. What a strange mix. Like, that's just was not what I expected. What race am I? What race do you need me to be? I'm the 400 meters, buddy. That's just my nose, though. Gamma Ray, welcome to Paralegal Status. Thank you for joining the channel. I really appreciate that. Kimmy Joe. Okay, Nick, what's the scoop with your governor being the VP pick? Well, I mentioned it a little bit. And look, never come to me for like political truth or reality. You always come to me for like a very ill-informed take on politics, because I don't follow these people. I don't study them. I know Walz sucks because I know Minnesota sucks. All right. So I know that much, but like, I don't need to get into the specifics of their policies. I'm more interested in the concepts behind the politicians' offices, the dynamics of power in the different branches of government. That's interesting to me. Like a particular person's policies aren't. I'm like, can you lower taxes and maybe like shoot less citizens? That's really all I want. So you can always come to me for an uninformed take that usually has jokes about fat people. Janiel Vargas says, please wish me a happy birthday. I turned 39 on Sunday. Janiel Vargas. That sounds like a woman's name, but I don't know. So happy birthday to you, whatever mystery gender you are. 39. Enjoy it. Enjoy 39. The last year of your 30s. Don't call them your dirty 30s because it's weird. I don't have much else to say about it other than that's fucking weird. I don't like that expression. But look, 30s are cool. 40s are cool. Enjoy every day you get to live. All right. Next, we got the squid. At least you've stayed consistent with being late and gay. Congrats on getting your kids back. The silence must have been deafening without them. It really was. It's actually one of the hardest things every day was as we'd get towards the evening, the house, like, and we would get the stuff that we were doing during the day taken care of, and we'd wind down a little bit. The house would be just so quiet. And after having 5 kids in the house for a long time, that's very unsettling. It's very, very unsettling to see or to hear nothing. Now that they're back, they're very, active. They just little interactions here and there, and you miss those quite a bit. I know. I haven't seen my kids in like 3 years or something, according to some people. Like, people come up with the wildest stories, but prior to all of this happening, these kids are a constant part of your life. And then you get prevented from seeing them by the government, who is always doing the best for its citizens at all times, of course. And like, you don't realize how quiet it is without them. I've always said, you say things, right? Well, I can't imagine life without your kids. Well, you can't, though. Like, I realized that was true. I didn't mean it as like a non-truth. It's just something you say. Well, I can't imagine life without them. But then when you have life without them, you're like, no, I really had no idea what that was going to be like. That was fucking miserable. So it's really great to have them back. Seriously. Koof says, congrats on getting your kids back. Thank you. Thank you for not killing yourself. You too, Koof. Always stay alive or whatever. Renegade Shuriken appears the UK police has shut down their website. Oh, man, that's just too bad. Where are people going to go to order their police? Like, I guess is Amazon UK order police? Maybe. Most dope 401 says, prayed for you. Now after the good news, praying harder. Bless. Hey, thanks. Like, seriously, thanks. A lot of people asked what they could do to help out at the beginning of this thing and as it was going through. And there's nothing I could ever really say to, like, how do I help you? I don't know. Like, I'm sitting here waiting on stuff to happen. I can't really do anything, so I don't know what I need help with. But when people would say they're praying for us, I'd say thank you. Like, mostly, please pray for the kids. Me and Lady Rackets as well. Me last, but please do that, because that is something that really was amazing for us. Lots of support, and we felt it. So yeah, Please keep that up. John Jelaine says Kamala Llama Ding Dong Do. Camel Llama Ding Dong Do. It's a camel and a llama and a camel. Kamala Lala Ding Dong Do. All right. All right. Ray JLB says, imagine having a Kamala nudes, getting a pardon immediately for any crime. Why? Because you'd threaten to send them to the person who could pardon you? Not because Kamala would do it. It's like, you're in California. Hey, Newsom. Yeah, I've been charged with 87 felony murders. He's like, yeah, I need a pardon. Why? I'm going to send you Kamala's nudes if you don't. Oh, dear God. I saw those once and birthed Barack Obama. Citizen M says, I ran April Anderson off the internet. Retaliate against Aaron and you're next. No, my goodness. No. Please, Citizen M, don't run me off the internet. That would be terrible. I don't know how I'm going to live with it. Or something. William Dixon says, good to see you, Nick. Thank you. Dick's on you, buddy. Jenny Wilson, welcome to Paralegal Status. D. What? Gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. Rick Nikita says, the Emperor protects. That he does. Scott Vanden Heuvel says, always glad to see you. I like to super chat Destiny questions at you and Joe. I live in Minnesota. I don't understand the love for walls. Remember how weak he was to the IRS taxing the surplus refunds? No, I don't remember that at all, but I'll take your word for it. I don't understand the love for walls either. I don't know why he keeps getting reelected, except I realized something. This is scientific. So I went to breakfast. Was that yesterday? 2 days ago. No, it was just yesterday. I went to breakfast yesterday before my court hearing. And I was at this little place in town. I'm not going to say it. You know, people get weird about shit now. So just I'm not going to bring anybody else into my life's fucking disaster. But I'm at this little place in town and I look around at all the clientele and you know what they all look like? They all look like Tim Walz. He is the most Minnesotan looking thing I can imagine. Let's see. Let's find a picture of him. Look at this shit. I mean, hold on. I know you can't see it yet. Oh, fucking hell. The pin he's wearing is even gay. There we go. There it is. Tim Walz. Look at him. This guy. This is every fucking American Legion post you've ever been to. He's just all of the guys sitting at the bar. They all look like this. He looks exactly like the Midwest. I mean, around here. I don't know what they look like anywhere else. But around here, if you go into any restaurant or any bar or whatever, you see 50 guys that look exactly like this. It is the most Minnesota looking dude in history. So, like, I think everybody in outstate Minnesota who's not paying attention, they're just like, oh yeah, I'm just voting for my uncle. And I'm pretty sure that's how he keeps winning. But look, the Unions for All pin. Ugh. Oh, God. I hate these people. Intimidator 0108 says, got to see some familiar faces this past weekend who I went to Iraq with in 2004 for some camping fun. Also glad to hear about the recent good news for you. And speaking of Tim Walz, I've heard he's been accused of stolen valor. Yeah, there's this thing. I don't know a lot about it. But I'm sure you guys know a lot more. But here's a basic summary from what I understand is that Tim Walz was in the reserves. He's in the reserves and he was a sergeant or something. Major sergeant. I don't know. He was a rank, non-commissioned officer rank, I believe. And his unit got deployment orders, which he's in the reserves. You know, you're like, oh shit, I don't want to get deployed, but sometimes it happens. They get deployed, and he's like, oh yeah, fuck off, and he resigns and he doesn't go. He's like the guy who like trained with these guys or something. He's like older than most of them. He's a senior guy. And he's like, yeah, no, fuck it. Master Sergeant. AWOLs. AWOLs is pretty good. But yeah, look, I don't know. A friend was telling me about it, and I'm like, I don't understand your military terminology. I am a nerd, like, and not the good kind. So anyway, I don't know. That's what I've heard about the stolen valor. But again, if you're looking for someone who's like informed on this type of issue, I'm not. Like on particular candidates and like their stuff. I can tell you what I like and don't like about people when I listen to them. But if like I just don't keep up with politicians in that way. That's not what I'm interested in, and I leave it to better people to do it. Again, if someone says something and there's a quote, I'll talk about it. But I'm much more interested in the power dynamics and the interplay between the branches of government and their powers and rights and responsibilities under the Constitution. So that's where I tend to pay more attention. Most Dope 401 says you look a lot like the FBI guy from Banshee and also the bad vampire from True Blood. Also, I like you more than a friend. Sounds good. You too. You too. We'll touch tongues next time. SG says, can you explain and define unwaivable conflicts? I mean, to some extent, I think this is a reference to something, but okay. Ignoring the reference that it might be, what an unwaivable conflict is, if you're talking about legal matters, which I assume you are, is that there are conflicts of interest in, say, representation. So one person is going to represent someone as a lawyer, and then there may be a conflict. Maybe they represented the other party in a different matter. And so now there's a conflict of interest because they have a duty to one client, and then they have a duty maybe to a former client, or they have information about the former client that would assist them in representing this new client in an unfair way. So now you've got a conflict of interest, and that conflict of interest has to be waived by the party who is impacted by the conflict. There are unwaivable conflicts where the conflict is presumed to be so impossible to overcome that anyone who would waive it must not understand what waiving that conflict would do. It's a basic, very high level, non-specific summary of an unwaivable conflict. But there's certain times where representing one person would be so overwhelmingly prejudicial to the party that it just can't be done. Like they can't allow it. So that would be a basic unwaivable conflict. Most Dope says Russell Edgington. I don't know who that is. I believe you. Hey, what's up, Rachel the Riveter? How you do? How you doing? Gonna go wash your face and get ready for bed. Well, I bid you well in that. Thanks for coming out and supporting. Okay, there is. Hold on, I gotta find. Someone sent in a tip on locals, and when I went to view the tips, it said no tips, and I'm like, no, just the tip. Where is it? Then my eyes got wide. It says there's a it says there's a $20 tip. Where the fuck did it go? Well, I'm scrolling back. Scrolling back. Here we go. Where the fuck did it? Damn it. Oh, this is annoying. I saw it come through and I was waiting to talk about it. Maybe if I refresh. I'm gonna try and refresh. No, it just. Okay, I swear I saw this tipped message come through. It says there's a total tips of $20. Is it on here? No tips yet. Whoa. Locals nuked it? Well, whoever sent it, can they like just tag me and send it again? All right, we got over on Rumble, we got a couple chats here too. Where Deus Ex Machina Prime says you will always be our white rigger. Oh, thank you. And I attempt to approach all topics with rigor and rigor and justice for all. Oh my gosh. So anyway, so there we go. Let's get in. should we get into the topic everyone's here for? I've wasted a half hour. Really just trying to let people have the opportunity to get into the show and stuff like that. Me 04120. Tim Walz let the rioters burn down the police precinct. I mentioned that one. It says you can't even do that in Grand Theft Auto. They just never thought it would be possible. It's amazing. Tug, yeah, wasn't Russell Edgington a guy vampire? Yeah, that's what the guy said. He said he reminds me of the bad vampire from True Blood, but I didn't watch it. But I believe you. What's up, Tug? By the way, how you doing? Deus Ex Machina Prime says I'm not into any of that gay stuff. Hands of 20. You're not into any of that gay stuff, but with this 20, I can see you're into this gay stuff. Anyway, thanks, buddy. I really appreciate that. All right, here we go. So I'll give you my, let's give my update as best I can. Now, please understand that I have ongoing court issues. They're not done. The state is not done with me yet. They have just barely sloppily pulled my pants up and shoved a cigarette in my mouth for a few minutes and said, I'll be back. Right? Like, so the amount I can tell you still has to be rather circumspect. But guys, this story of this summer for me is something that when I get to tell it, you're not going to believe it. I don't think. And that's fine. I don't know how to change that, but maybe you will. Maybe there will be enough accompanying documentation or whatever. Some of the stuff I have to tell is in places that may never be disclosable. Not that they just may never be disclosed. They just may never be disclosable for various reasons that go beyond me. But when I ultimately get to tell you the story, I will. Needless to say, a bunch has been said about me, and a bunch of people have said that I have said stuff that I have never, ever uttered in my life. In fact, one of them I'll have to address right away, and this is frustrating for me, is Joshua Moon, the owner of Kiwi Farms. And how do I do this best? How do I do this best? So Joshua Moon has filed a motion. He's desperately trying to get stuff related to my case, which that doesn't surprise me or make me that's what Josh is going to do. And that's fine, I guess, whatever. But Josh has routinely misrepresented things that I have said in this ordeal. And it's frustrating because I don't know. It's annoying when someone misquotes you. It's more annoying when they put it in an affidavit that you've said something that I don't believe I have ever said. And so I had a conversation with Josh the other day, and he went to the forums and he just said that I said stuff, which I didn't say. It was very weird because Josh had the messages, and I figured he'd just if he needed to say something about them, he'd just release them. So here's what I'm going to do. I have to do this in a very particular way because I want to show you guys what was said to Josh, because this is important to my cases. I want to show you guys what was actually said to Josh, because it's interesting. He calls me a liar all the time. Says I'm lying to him or gaslighting him or whatever. But then when he went to say what I said on the forums, he just posted his own version of it. And I've noticed something about Josh is either he paraphrases things incorrectly or he uses someone else's incorrect paraphrase as if it were true. And I think that's what's been going on with him and me. And so I'm just going to show you the messages. So this starts on Saturday, August 3rd. He was talking about the body cam footage in my case. And people want me to like sign this release order, or they want me to sign a consent form for the body cam footage in my case, which I'm certainly not going to do at this point in time. And I'm not sure that it'd ever be appropriate, but here you go. And people can make all sorts of arguments or whatever, but that's fine. I'm not going to sit and argue with the internet about the propriety of that. You could call me whatever you want. That's okay. But here's what I am going to do. I'm going to show you guys what I said to Josh, because I think it's important. And I think it's really important to show you exactly what was said, because what Josh said isn't true. So here we go. I hope you can read this. So this is Saturday, August 3rd, 9:53 p.m. I said, "Hey, retard. Discovery is under protective order in the case. Me releasing it is a violation of that order. It's in the document you already have on your site, Learn to Read," which is the order that was leaked a long time ago, mentioned specifically that discovery is under protective order in the case. It said, "Suggesting I should do anything to affirmatively move the needle on releasing it risks me violating a court order. Try reading." So again, really quickly, people on the farms or wherever want me to sign a consent form to release body cam footage that is part of both my criminal case and my civil case. But there's a protective order on discovery, and the civil case has since been sealed as well. Releasing that, or moving to release that, or making any step for it risks me violating a court order. Now, you may argue, well, that's not violating a court order. I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, when the government has you by the balls, and by the balls, I mean your literal offspring, you don't do anything to risk violating a court order. But it gets farther than that. It goes farther than that. And we're going to get to that as well, because this is an amazing thing that Josh's myopia forces him to overlook the reality that people are in the thirst for more and more infos or whatever. So Josh, I found this curious. He says, "We're not asking you to release it." This is funny because Kiwi Farms is not a monolith. I've said it a million times, but apparently they are now acting in concert, according to Josh. It's not me. He's speaking on behalf of everyone now, I guess. "We're not asking you to release it. We're asking you to grant the government permission to release it. There is no issue with you signing a letter of consent." Well, there are issues. We'll talk about it in a minute. Your body cam footage is also discovery in your criminal charge. Great. It doesn't matter. If they're in both and one of them's under protective order, I'm certainly not fucking coming close to violating an order. It is part of the Chips case's discovery, but it's a part of the state's case in the criminal one. Okay, Josh, that's great. We, Lamau. Because when did Kiwi Farms become we? Josh, when was that? When was Kiwi Farms a we? Does anybody, I've heard Josh say a million times that Kiwi Farms is just a website that people come to. It's not a collection of people acting in concert. It's anybody goes there and just gossips, but now it's we. That's very fun to me. Like, cause it's such a different Josh than I remember. So then he has a question mark because he doesn't get that he's just said we a whole lot. And so I go on. "No one is asking me anything, and you're specifically ignoring just how monstrous of a machine court is. I tell you there's a protective order on discovery in a case where the government is concerned about the safety of children, and you want me to sign a release to show Kiwi Farms information about where those children live so it can be paraded in front of a group of infamous hawkers." Now, that was my phone correcting gawkers to hawkers, but infamous gawkers. "So you don't even listen to yourself and how absurd of a request that is." So now having quotes is a hypothetical, like a joke. It's a hyperbolic joke of what the judge would say to me if signing that consent form. Reminder that the state has your kids and they're like, "Well, we have concerns about parenting or whatever." And you're like, "Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sign a release form so that these weirdos on the internet could just see where my kids live. Like, that sounds good, right? Right, fellow parents? just go around. I want you all to go around to any parents, be like, hey, you have kids. Would you sign a release form to let the internet, like people on a website called Kiwi Farms, see your kids' bedrooms? Like, would you just sign a release form for that? Well, I mean, it was a police action, so you should sign a release form for that, right? That would be an insane proposition to most people, I would think, but maybe not to Josh. Like, I guess he doesn't think that way. And that's fine. Like, again, myopia. But so here's the quote that from my hypothetical judge. Mr. Ricada, did you sign a release authorizing the state to share body cam footage with the layout of the home where your children sleep with an anonymous web board that I'm reading has driven people to suicide through ridicule? Now, I've said over and over, I don't think Kiwi Farms is responsible for the suicides, but that's the news bite that an uninformed judge would be like looking into, because it comes up every time. Only in every case is Kiwi Farms accused of having people commit suicide. I've defended this over and over and over again, so please don't come at me with your gayness. But that's what's going to be the mantra, because it's the mantra every time it comes up. So then, why, Mr. Ricada, did you think sharing that information was a positive step for the safety of your children? And then, of course, here's my response. Sorry, Your Honor, an illustrated dog who fled the U.S. because of reasons, and his army of lolly avatars who say the N-word a lot asked me to. The absurdity of a parent signing a consent form for people to get more information about their children and give it to the Kiwi Farms people is like, they don't even recognize like how that looks. And again, under normal circumstances, that looks insane. But when the state is looking at you going, we need to make sure you're a fit parent, and before we can return your kids, be like, hold on, let me sign this release form. Here, I want these other people to look at my house first and get the layout of it down and see that stuff. That'd be good, right? Like that'd be a responsible parenting. No, it never would. But I'm just trying to help him out here. So then I said, Josh, sometimes your quest to make other people look retarded makes you unable to see how retarded you are. This isn't a joke for me. And despite your gaggle of happy faggots, super good deductive reasoning, they've got it wrong. That's why my kids will be home soon. Now, granted, I said this on the 3rd. I was under the impression that my kids would be coming back on the 11th. But instead, they came back on the 7th. Now, a lot of people on the farms, etc., have said that my kids were like never coming back or be an extremely long time, etc., etc., etc. Well, now that they're coming back, they're like, oh, we always said they'd come back. Well, yeah, sure. That's fine. You guys had no way to know. I tried to tell you guys that you had no way to know. And I tried to explain the Minnesota law that specifically said why you wouldn't be able to know and that it wasn't even your fault. I'm like, yeah, these long-term case plans or whatever that you see, those are not actually dictating the flow of the case. They're required by statute as parallel planning to what's going on. But there's other shit going on that you guys don't know about, and I can't tell you. No one else can know. So when you saw these people like commenting, oh, this is what's actually happening, Nick's a liar. No, I was just telling you exactly what was happening, but I couldn't give you details about negotiations that were going on, about everything working on the parallel track that you don't get to know about. So I'm sorry, but I tried. I tried to tell you. But okay. So anyway, I knew when my kids were coming home because I'm the one who's been doing it. A lot of these people out there still think that Lady Raggets and I were not submitting to drug tests, or that we had some way figured out how to plan the drug tests on our own or something. No, none of that's true. We've been complying with drug tests ever since the court asked us to do drug tests. The moment the court said, I need you to do drug tests, we're like, all right, cool. Now, we didn't do a whole shitload of drug tests beforehand. You know why? Because they didn't ask us to. I don't know what else to tell you. People are making big deals out of stuff that they've made up in their minds. And when I try and correct it and say, no, actually, we've been completely clean on all of our drug tests, they're like, The first drug test I submitted, yes, I tested positive for alcohol. That's because I wasn't ordered to not drink alcohol yet. That's it. Then on the 7th of June, the judge said, no controlled substances, including alcohol. Although that's not in my written order, played it safe. No controlled substances, including alcohol, and you submit to random testing. We were like, all right, cool. Of course. There you go. Done. Our first drug test was voluntary. We brought it to court because we had a hearing. Anyway, long story short, that's how that went. But people still believe that there's a different story out there. That it's like, no. Nick must not be doing this. Nick must not be doing this. Nick must not. Guys, come on. Like, I know that this is the internet and everything's fucking ridiculous, but it's not that ridiculous. Some people are. And some people get like liar tattooed on their cheekbone or whatever, which I thought was bold. But some people on the internet do have like real lives that they get a little over sensationalized, which I've told you guys a lot. A lot of my life is way over sensationalized, and it's funny for a while until it's not, until it has real world impact. And this has had real world impact, and the jokes had to stop. But getting back to this thing, I knew my kids would be coming home soon. I knew actually the exact date. And again, someday I'll get to tell the story of how this played out, because how it played out should terrify you. Yeah, I know. You're not me. It should terrify you. Because in this county, my case went fast. That should terrify you. That this was fast. Considering the absolute dearth of evidence and accusations that they had. I know the internet has made a ton of accusations. Guys, the county doesn't accuse me of any of the stuff that you do. Which is why the kids are back home. So in light of this went fast. That should bother you. That should worry you to your core if you're a parent. All right, here we go. Don't worry, there's more of this conversation coming. I'm not going to just cut it off here. And I'll make sure and include this so that you know I'm not leaving something out. Consenting to the release of that footage would be one of the most irresponsible things a parent could do. The fact that you don't see that should indicate that you are terminally dun. Just a second. Here. Get a new one here. Whee. All right. Fact that you don't see that should indicate that you're terminally connected to the internet and disconnected from reality. Peace. Which people like tried to psychoanalyze peace. Guys, I've used peace as a send-off forever. So then Josh responds to me an hour later and he's like, he said peace. Why did he respond? I'm like, Josh, you sent a message back. I returned your message. Anyway. So he says, then have April consent. So like, instead of me consenting, I'm supposed to have someone else consent by proxy to get around. Listen to what Josh is suggesting. I'm saying, hey, Josh, me doing this would violate like a court order. He says, have someone else do it by proxy. That won't violate the order. Josh, listen to yourself, man. Homie, listen to yourself. I don't want to violate a court order. So you're suggesting I have someone else do it for me? That doesn't make it okay to do. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I'll have, because I have control over her, apparently. Like, what should I like use my puppet strings, or should I intimidate her? Like, what is your proposition here? You just have her do it, then it's not you. Fucking insane. But okay. No, Josh, very reasonable. Then have April consent. You are the one who said the footage would exonerate you. I didn't actually say the footage would exonerate me. I believe, it's a little fuzzy, I believe I said that there are things in the footage that may help my case. They may actually be things that break the case. I don't know, especially at the time I had said it, I had not seen the footage. I still haven't seen all of the footage. There's a shitload of it. But this is one of those things where Josh takes something I said and he paraphrases it into a direct statement or accusation or whatever, but it isn't true. And it's the only reason I'm showing these messages is because he's done this multiple times now. And then people believe him and they say that he's credible and I'm not. Well, I'm showing you the messages because the credibility here is critical. Josh has put in an affidavit that I have said things about the search of my house that I haven't said. He put it in an affidavit to the court, trying to convince the court of something, but I didn't say those things. I think it was either him reading someone else's misinterpretation or he just made a mistake. I don't think it's malicious, to be very clear. I don't think Josh is malicious in any of this. I think he's myopic. I think he's thirsty for the information, and that overrides basic reasoning. But I don't think he's maliciously doing it. But here we go. He says, you are the one who petitioned the court to seal discovery. Not true. Actually, I didn't petition the court to seal discovery. The protective order on discovery in my civil case was proposed, guess what, by the county attorney. And my lawyer and Lady Rackets' lawyer independently agreed to it. It's in the transcript on your site. If you just read it, it's right there. They did it in court. And it's also in the order. So again, you normally would have no way of knowing this. Now you actually have a way of knowing this. You just didn't take the time to know it, which is fine, except now you're accusing me of doing this stuff. No. Anyway, insinuating everyone you don't like is a pedophile is an ugly and ineffective tactic. Well, Josh, funny thing, I didn't insinuate anybody that I'm not liking is a pedophile here. But Josh does this all the time. Go through the list of people that Josh used to like and who he doesn't like now, and look at how many of them he has called a pedophile. It's one of the most common words in his dictionary. This is an amazing case of projection from Josh. But notice in this conversation, I didn't call anyone a pedophile. Josh did. Josh called somebody pedophiles here, tried to make me do it, but I didn't do it. I said army of lolly avatars. Yeah, but I didn't call them pedophiles, Josh. You just have a bunch. There's just a bunch of lolly avatars. I also said you were an illustrated dog. Like it was just it's a pithy joke. Get over it. But anyways, insinuating everyone you don't like is a pedophile is an ugly and ineffective tactic. Well, Josh, maybe you should have a helping of that sandwich. He says, I'll remind you, it was your cocaine and your child testing positive for cocaine who put you in this situation. Those are Joshua Moon's words. I haven't made any comment about this. I'm only reading them for completeness. And I'm not going to make any comment about that now. I have a pending criminal matter. He says, I and my forum do not share responsibility. It's my forum. It's mine. Josh speaking on behalf of the forums again. Well, that's just rich. It's good. Josh, I'm glad you're finally coming around to this, because for years you denied all of this. Like you were not acting on behalf of the forum. You're acting on behalf of you, and the people do it themselves, but I guess it's collective now. So then I said, you're the king of insinuating people are pedophiles. I didn't insinuate anything. I said, are you having a retard action? Because I said lolly avatars. Said, also, like normal, your paraphrase of what I said is not precise. Said, peace, Josh. I hope you and your pedophiles have a good day. Josh called them pedophiles. I didn't. But I'll go with the moniker. That's on him. So then he says, you are not as smart as you think you are. And I said, oh, no. That's fine. I hope I'm not as smart as I think I am. So then today at 1:03 p.m., I said, by the way, very curious where you think I alleged police planted anything. And this is getting into the meat of the matter, because I noticed that Josh said that I said this, but I didn't say that. Actually have specifically avoided saying that. I haven't said it at all. When people insinuated that I meant it, I said, I didn't say that. I have clearly not, I've specifically not said this. If I'm wrong, please, somebody let me know, because I'm pretty sure I've never actually said this, and I haven't seen anybody find it yet. I said, you put it in a motion supported by affidavit. Are you sure you didn't just paraphrase something incorrectly and assume what I meant? I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Or maybe you misread a retarded summary from a forum post. Who knows? So Josh said, you literally said that Alicia Sweep by name lied under oath. Yes. Yes, I did. And that did happen. It was not during the search, however, but Alicia Sweep did lie under oath. In fact, when we left the court hearing, I walked right up to her and I said, you lied under oath and you know it. I walked right up to her. I pointed at her. I said it to her face. I will say it every single day. Alicia Sweep lied under oath in Candy, Ojai County. 100% she did that. I also said the problem with all of this is that when there is no other witness than you and the government agent, you have two options. You have to live with the lie because no one's punishing her, or you have to testify. And testifying to counter the lie does two things. One, it pits your credibility against the government worker. Now, the government worker who works with the CPS investigator all the time, or the judge who works with the CPS investigator all the time and doesn't know you at all, where do you think that credibility default is going to go? Towards the CPS investigator. So I would have to go take the stand and say, no, Alicia Sweep lied about this thing. That didn't happen. And then I would similarly be opening myself up to cross-examination when I have a pending criminal matter. You just have to eat shit sometimes. I mentioned this with less specificity, but that's the way the system works. Sometimes you don't have the opportunity to call out a lie. Lies go by in court all day. I pray you're never in a position where those lies impact your children. I really do. Because it fucking sucks, man. You're powerless. You have to sit there. By the way, you can't, like, your lawyer can't object. She lied. How? How do you show they lied? Well, you either have to get a witness up there or you have to have a recording. The recording has to be introduced by a witness. They have to be cross-examined. Sometimes you just have to eat shit. Anyway, so here we go. 100%. So here we go. He says, if you want to point out a specific paragraph in the affidavit you have an issue with, you can, but you're very obvious about what you're doing. Obvious. Josh, I don't know where you think I said this, but I didn't say it. And he's done this before to me. Josh will do this when I talk to him. He'll say, what do you want me to redact or retract or change or make a statement on? I say, Josh, I don't want you to make a statement about anything. I don't want you to delete anything. I don't want you to censor anything. And then he'll say, Nick tried to get me to censor something, or Nick tried to get me to change something. No, literally never done that. It's amazing how many times he has personally accused me of that when I do something like this. I'm saying, dude, you're saying something that's not true. Like, well, what do you want me to change it? No, I'm just letting you know it's not right. That's literally it. Do whatever the fuck you want with it. So here he goes. Everything I've said in the affidavit was true to the best of my knowledge and ability. Yeah, that's fine. But your knowledge and ability are lacking. Sorry, Josh. So then we go back to me. responding to his Alicia Sweet thing. I said, she did. That was not during the warrant execution. It wasn't. It was after. I said, I'm just trying to tell you that I have not alleged the police planted anything, which I have not. You misunderstood or read someone's summary who misunderstood. All right, give me a second. We'll go on. Sorry to do this way. It's the only way. It's the only way to fucking do this. When you're accused of being dishonest and the person accusing you incorrectly states what you said, it gets a little frustrating. Here we go. I said, you misunderstood or read someone's summary who misunderstood. I may have suggested multiple times over the years that no one should consent to a search because you don't know if police will even inadvertently place something. So, but I've made no public accusations regarding the planting of evidence. So maybe someone misinterpreted my explanation that police have to prove that I possessed what they alleged, and there are facts which make this issue complicated. There are. I said, Alicia Sweep lied, stating that I prevented her from accessing the bedroom and closing the door. That was a lie under oath. That was a lie under oath. A CPS worker named Alicia Sweep in Candy, Ojai County, Minnesota, lied under oath in the case against me. There's no way around it. That happened. As I stated, the downside of the system is that there was no way to counter the lie without testifying. Testifying would have been a bad move at the time. Very true. Very true. So Josh responds, look, mate. He's Australian now, apparently. You're a pathological liar. Oh, Josh. And you are blatantly engaged in manipulation against everyone you talk to at all times for no apparent or good reason possible. And let me just go ahead and say this. If someone is accused of always manipulating people for no reason, I'll humbly suggest they're not actually manipulating people. I mean, you can believe whatever you want. I'm not here to change that. I can't manipulate you into believing me. If I could, I'd be way richer. All right. Here's the crazy thing. Josh can never figure out what the manipulation is. It's just that what I tell him doesn't fit his story up here. If it doesn't fit Josh's story up here, he can't fathom how it happens. But Josh is retarded. I love him. He's a lovable retard, but he is. His life is not a normal person's life, and that is fine. But it makes him have trouble identifying with other people in real situations over and over and over. And that's shown through it's actually kind of a joke on the forum itself. He just doesn't get it because he doesn't live in the world that other people do. He lives in a world of nastiness, of crazy, insane people, of antics that go beyond the normal bounds of human comedy. He doesn't live like, he doesn't even live like me, and I'm ridiculous. His is more so. But all right. He goes, yeah, apparently manipulating everyone all the time. Nothing you tell me will ever be taken at face value. And in this instance, it's just another obvious lie that makes me roll my eyes. Notice what Josh hasn't done. He has not found the instance where I have said what he says I said. He says, I know you think it's very, very clever to continuously imply things so you can backtrack what you said immediately. Like that time you were talking to some blonde woman and basically said the government plants evidence all the time. The government plants evidence all the time. They do. It's news story after news story after news story. We find it over and over and over. And he says, when she directly asked to confirm if you were saying that happened in your case, which was an obvious follow-up because it was plain that you were implying that. I wasn't. I was simply saying why you don't consent to searches ever. He says, you backtracked it immediately. I said, I didn't say that. I've never said that because I didn't and have never said that. It's amazing. He's like, you told the truth. Yes, Josh. He's like, see? So your truth was a lie because you meant it to be. No, Josh. You needed it to be. But I never said that. That's the whole point of all of this. He says, you do this continuously. You insinuate through gritted teeth. Oh, shit, I didn't get the more. I'll read it to you. The more says, I mean, maybe I'm hiding something. You insinuate through gritted teeth that XYZ happened, and it was a knowingly malicious and deliberate effort by a state actor to accomplish some evil deed at your expense. Then when pressed, you look away from the camera and say, well, I didn't say that. Except I don't do that. It's amazing because for his thing to be right, his premise is that requires me to do the thing that he needs me to do. It's very circular. I have to be making the implication to then deny the implication. But I'm denying the implication because I didn't make it. So anyway, he says, I'm not one of your children. You can't lie to me. Oh, dude, my children are way better lie detectors than you are, Josh. He said, Josh, the hardest thing for you to realize one day is that I don't. So please go back and find me actually accusing the police of planting anything in my case. Now, Josh ran to the forums again right after I sent him this, and he said, Nick dared me to do it. No, I didn't dare you to do anything. Jesus Christ, man. So please go find it. He says in his affidavit, sworn under oath to be truthful, that I said this, but I didn't say it. Like, please go find it. He says, I will. I intend to compile a list of every time that you implied that someone from the police department did something wrong to you. Knock yourself out, I guess. You've been doing it since your first stream out of jail. I'm going to have to do this anyways because it's the only way to justify getting the body cam footage released without your consent, and you've got April locked down. Yes, shackled to the floor, unable to move. She's not even a real person. She has no will, Josh. And don't even try that. You've been lying about who you were and what you stand for since the first time you cut on a fucking camera. I think he meant put on, got on. I'm not sure. Look, my phone fucks up all the time. I'm not criticizing him. I said, nope. Other people project onto me. That's not my fault. That being said, I wish you well in your endeavors in regards to finding those accusations. It's true. I wish him well. I wish him well. So here we go. Let's get the rest of this shit. Oh boy. I know this is wild fun, guys. This is going to get very meta here because there's screenshots in this one. I know this is wild fun. And we'll get on with the case update when we're done with this Josh conversation. We will. So here we go. So finish with the accusations. There's only one screenshot that matters because the other two you've already seen. It's just a repeat of the earlier conversation. We'll skip those in a second. He says, thanks. And I said, Josh, are you lying intentionally or just chronically imprecise? And then I screenshotted his post. He says, King Baldo has again reached out. King Baldo, God, I wish. Through a system of ropes and pulleys to declare the following. Here's what he paraphrased into. He has never said the police did anything wrong during the execution of the search warrant. That's actually not what I said, and that's not true. I believe I've said they've made mistakes. I haven't said anything about what they are. But I did not say they haven't done, that they did nothing wrong. I just said they didn't. I'd never said they planted evidence. This is what Josh has done. He has shifted the language and moved the goalposts to make his lies version into a form of truth. Because he can't be. He had all these messages. He had them. But his paraphrase is imprecise. And it's really important because, again, Josh put under oath a swearing that it was true and correct, that I said a thing that I haven't said. He did that through his lawyer. I didn't do that to him. I sent him a message. But he did this. And then when I say, hey, John, I didn't say that. Now he's changing it, and he's changing the language that he used. It's amazing. So he goes, search warrant on his premises and both dares me and wishes me luck in finding evidence to the contrary to support a petition to the Candioi County Sheriff's Department. I said, this is not what I said. And I also didn't dare him. I did wish him luck. Or I think I wished him well. I wished him well. I didn't even wish him luck. Very imprecise, Josh. How embarrassing. All right, here we go. Let's get to the next one. I'm going to skip the screen grabs. This is the last one. Okay? So we can stop the suffering soon. Here we go. Guess I got to get the whole thing just so people know I'm not like grabbing some other fucking conversation or something weird. Should I get accused of these days? So here's the screenshots again. Back to where we were. He says, "Can you give me a quote then?" What? Are you a newspaper? You're going to publish a quote? I said, I also never dared you to do anything. Then he puts a screenshot. Please go back and find me actually accusing the police of planting anything in my case. I said, I'm literally asking. I'm not taunting or daring you. I know what I didn't say. If I messed up somewhere and alleged that, I would want to know. We both have an interest in that allegation. So look, man, I've literally only ever contacted you for your own information. You've suggested multiple times that I'm demanding a retraction or correction. I always tell you no. Trying to convince someone else to correct the record for an internet audience is nonsensical. So there you go. Joshua Moon. I don't like doing that. I really don't. But dude, the guy just fucking lied about what I said. He lied about what I said in his affidavit that he filed with the court. And then when I'm like, hey, dude, I didn't say that. He's like, haha, you did. It's like, where? Sorry. I don't know what else to do, man. It fucking sucks. But hey, this is the nature. This is how Josh has chosen to do this for years, by the way. Conversations like that are why Josh has been mad at me. Because when he would say something and be like, hey man, that's actually not right. He goes, do you want me to correct it? And I'd say, no. Do you want me to kick someone off the forums? No. Well, who's violating the rules? Josh, I don't do that. Like, I'm not asking you to do anything. And then he'd go on the forums and say, oh, man, Nick's asking me to censor stuff for sweep it. No, never have I asked Josh to take anything off the forums. I've never asked him to issue a retraction. I've never asked him to correct a statement. Not once. Every time he said that, that was Josh lying or misunderstanding. I'll even give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's just literally retarded. But it sucks because that's who Josh has become. It's his own myopia that does it. That myopia is the same thing that fuels cops, and it's the same thing that fuels local government workers. That is what gets people in the system and keeps people in the system. That myopia is what takes away rights. Josh has a story in his head about what must be, and facts that don't fit his story get ignored. Any little thing that comes close to his story gets overemphasized. It's confirmation bias. Confirmation bias runs the court system in the United States. The criminal justice system has some protections built into it. They do. The family court system does not. The family court system has a reduced ability to protect your rights. It's a civil case. So when you exercise your Fifth Amendment rights, the court is permitted to draw a negative inference, where in a criminal case, they can't. That's one of the very basic ones. They get to draw negative inferences from you protecting yourself from criminal prosecution. Sucks. But here's the thing. When a worker whose job it is to determine the safety of children, for example, gets an idea in their head, not facts, but an idea in their head that there's a dangerous situation or environment or person, and they genuinely even want to protect children, they may be protecting them from a fantasy. The problem is trying to convince them that their fantasy is wrong, because when you present them with evidence that their fantasy is wrong, they literally just ignore it. Or, as happened to us, throw a tantrum because the evidence did not say what their fantasy said. And when we presented it to them, they were angry. Not at us. They just thought the evidence had to be fake. It had to be something else. It had to not be real, because their story up here mattered more than the story that was actually in front of them. That's what myopia does. That's what that single-mindedness does. When you're unwilling to consider facts that are contrary to your fantasy, you become unreliable to yourself. I'm sure I have done this a million times. It's a natural human thing. We're supposed to guard against it. The internet breeds circles where the checks on that go away quickly. And tons of people have been on the receiving end of it. Thank God most of them don't have their families impacted. Anyway, with that, there's a very apropos super chat by Drex is a Niger pedophile groomer. Interesting name, I guess. The message was deleted, but I really wish it wasn't deleted. The message said, interesting new matter of public record attached. I don't know why people think I'm like afraid of that message. I'm guessing the Minnesota Public Records account that has been sharing documents on kiwi farms has shared the second half of the court transcript from June 7th. Okay. That court transcript on June 7th was on June 7th. That case is now resolved. So, all of the summaries and surmises and philosophizing and predictorizing that happened. I can't believe Nick said that in court. What was he doing? Better than you think, actually. But all of the predictions and all of the nonsense about that, guess what? You were wrong. I'm sorry. You weren't correct. You looked at dollar signs and decided to discard truth. You put your credentials up as evidence that you would be right, and you're wrong. Funny thing was, I was telling you it was going to go differently, but you didn't listen. I'd say egg on your face, but you'd eat it. Anyway, look, I mean, if Minnesota Public Records released the second half of the hearing transcript from, 2 fucking months ago on the case that's over now, all right. I hope you enjoy reading what I knew a long time ago. I don't have much else to say. But all right, there's a couple of super chats that we're going to get to, and then I'll talk a little bit more about this, because there's some speculation I want to dispel, and then we'll get into the other topics too. Don't worry, we got it. We got Nasser Puto. Mr. No, I don't feel so good. Signed Kiwi Bros and Potential Mindset. Real as Binga alive. Hashtag give them hell. Hashtag Tutto Pasa. Sweet Pea says, actually, there's a leaked audio of Trump praising Walz for his action in the 2020 riots. Gross. Gross. Most Dope 401 says, could you please look at Russell Edgington and explain your non-connection? Russell, hold on. Who the fuck is this? Russell Edgington. Okay. Let me see. So this guy's supposed to look like me, I guess. Like, I'll try and find a picture where it looks closer. This guy's much less pale than I am. He's a little older too. Maybe this one? I don't know. I don't see it as much. This guy's more handsome than I am, although he's older. I don't know if, well, he's, oh. I don't actually think he's that handsome. Well, of course, I guess, what's that say about me? So here we go. Here's the, here he is. This is the guy, I guess, from True Blood. Never watched it. I don't see it. I see other resemblances better, like Bankers or whatever. But explain your non-connection. His nose isn't quite big enough either. Which I already said, Bankers. Man. All right, here we go. Rue sent a try again sticker. Thank you. Bubblicious1 says, as soon as your case is over, you got to get out of the state. I have a fat half sister that lives there. Never understood her. Bro hugs, heartfelt. That's well worded. Jay says, wee all the way home. And then he's got some piggy things. Most Dope 401 says, this is why we prayed and still do. Thanks. Hey, thank you, buddy. Darth Bender says, so you can do a painting stream? Probably. I got to get that set up. Oh, Peachy says, I posted a screenshot of local sip. Oh, there it is. Grouchy old geezer sent the local sip earlier. He says, hey, Rackets, congrats on having a full house again. Fuck the state in the eye with a fork. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So here we go. The Squid says, I know you can't go into detail, but you getting the kids bag is proof a certain hair test was complete BS. Patio Furniture says, do you think Mr. Beast is the Antichrist? No, I think he's like one of those weird supertisms that just happened to get into like social media at the right time and suddenly was like, ha, billions. I don't know about you, but just seeing his soy face and weird fake smile makes my skin crawl. He's got an uncanny valley thing to him, kind of like Zuckerberg. Let's see. Terrestrial IG Music, welcome to Lawyer Status. Rob Price says, Nick, glad you're doing well and enjoying the time with the fam. Shit is all fucked up with me still fighting to get my spine surgery. It's been a fucking joke dealing with people who make vegetables seem brilliant. Sorry, man. That fucking sucks. I hope that gets better. Gets better for you. Rage LB says, does weed still count on tests now? Honest question. Yes. So the way testing works in Minnesota is no mood altering substances, including alcohol. Weed, while legal in Minnesota and kind of almost legal federally, is still a mood altering substance, and it is still not allowed without a prescription. However, in Minnesota, you can get a prescription weed card. So you could, in theory, have a THC prescription and then utilize weed as prescribed by your medical care provider. I do not have a THC prescription, so I am not allowed to have weed. Gonfall says, people are dumb, Nick. Yes. Like in politics, news comes out on each side. Both sides are wrong. One less wrong, but still wrong. But both still look dumb making assumptions. People just don't wait. It's dumb. Lots of dumb going on there. Real Patriots Party says, Nick, the know-it-alls have cost me so much in popcorn over the last 2 months of interim. I think I'll need a lawyer, so I'm going to sue. Get Over It Live says, Sweet Pea is retarded. The Trump audio is out of context. Okay. I have no idea, but I'll take all of your words for it. Iceman 1014 says, tangentially related. Is there any chance you could have Sean on and come to some sort of amicable understanding, or are things too far gone between you two? Well, I can't right now. Not during my case. Not at all. I liked it better when you two were on together, but it is what it is. Regardless, congrats on uniting the family again. I don't know. I don't know if it'd be profitable enough to, I mean, for him to do it. It's not really, I'm not inclined to invite many people on the show right now. And people who have been speaking specifically about my case, so specifically wrongly, the issue is they'd want to get into a discussion about the case. And I can't, there are things I can talk about, and there's a bunch of stuff I can't, which I'm about to talk about what I can't talk about. Not that way in just a second. Terrestrial IG Music says, after 2 years of deliberation, I've decided to join your ranks. Hey, thank you. I don't know about your personal ethics, but your heart is probably in the right place. I support the movement. Here's the most important thing I'll say. I've never asked anybody to live the way I do. I criticize other people all the time, of course, but I don't say that I know the best way or I am the way. That's very hubristic. I don't do that. I might make suggestions about, like, maybe you shouldn't do this if you don't want that to happen. Those happen to be true. I sometimes violate those. You know, the best way to drive is the speed limit or lower. I don't do that very well at all. But hey, it is what it is. People live their lives. I think they make a lot of assumptions about me saying something is good or bad and then going, aha! Guys, I do bad shit all the time. I eat cereal. Little Chinese kids made that cereal by hand out of wheat. Most Dope 401 says, tall law tube guy still likes his kitties with a handle on it. Winky wink. Damn. Well, that's a little gross. Haven King says, you said for me to never add ice to my whiskey. Well, that was true. That's true. That's true. You don't do it. Okay. Real quick. We've got a word from our sponsor. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 1775 coffee. 1775coffee.com. You can click on the QR code on the right side of your, click on it. That's what the kids are doing these days. You scan the QR code on the right side of your screen and go to 1775coffee.com/Duncan. So here we go. Have you heard of the recent advertising scandal? Let me break it down. The CEO of Rumble, Chris Pavlovsky, recently released an email from Inspire Brands and Dunkin' Donuts. The email explicitly states the right-wing culture of Rumble is too polarizing. In other words, Dunkin' Donuts has a problem with right-wing culture and wants nothing to do with it or Rumble. Look, Dunkin' Donuts is trash. It's always been trash. Donuts are garbage. They're cake donuts that are trying to be raised donuts. Just raise your donuts. Raise your donuts right. Don't eat cake donuts. Cake donuts are garbage, and Dunkin' Donuts is garbage too. Always has been. I would have done this ad for free. I fucking hate Dunkin' Donuts. You know what? I hope every Dunkin' Donuts gets bored out like a prom queen on a Thursday. I hope they get turned into little cake balls. I hope they get ripped apart and cry later. Bust the hymen of every Dunkin' Donuts. Never put one of those in your mouth. Gross. Anyway, so here's the solution. I thought I just said it. Stop buying products that don't support you. You ever been supported by a Dunkin' Donut? You sit on one of those things, you get a Dunkin' Flat Nut. A Dunkin' Flat Nut is also what happens when you're over 40 and you sit on your balls in a hot tub. It's two things with the same words. Don't buy products that don't support you. You start supporting brands that do support you. Rumble supports you. I sat on Rumble once and I'm still there. It's still under me. I'm still sitting on it. It's not a flat nut. My balls are safe on top of Rumble. The competing coffee brand that we all need to get behind is Rumble 1775 coffee. For a limited time, Rumble is offering buy 2 bags. That's right. You get 2 sacks in case you sit on one. 2 bags of coffee and get one for free. That's 3 sacks. That's more. It's more sacks than Riley Reid sees a day. It's an impressive amount of sacks happening over here. Rumble has got your backs and your balls. They've got your coffee beans in a bag. Go to 1775coffee.com. Enter promo code Duncan to get this limited time deal. That's right. Dunkin' Donuts. Guys, 1775coffee.com. Promo code Duncan. Don't squish your nuts. Don't do it. There we go. God, I hate Dunkin' Donuts. I hate Dunkin' Donuts so much. When they're like, oh, there's going to be Dunkin' Donuts all over the country. It's like, oh, thank God, donuts. And then I remembered it was Dunkin' Donuts. It's like, oh, I now know what happened to Germany in 1938. Just saying, those donuts came from ovens too. If they were proper donuts, they would have come from frying oil. Anyway. ACAB True Crime says Minnesota Psych Doc here. Light bulb equals talk to me about ish right now. Talk to me Abbott ish right now. I think you want me to talk to you about stuff. Not right now, but yeah. Nick doesn't even like coffee. Very true. I hate it. You know what I hate more than coffee? Dunkin' Donuts. I'd rather drink 1775 coffee and spit it out. Every sip. Fucking coffee all over the floor, all over the microphone, all over me. I'd pigment my skin spitting 1775 coffee on my own legs before I'd eat a Dunkin' Donut. I don't even care that they don't like right-wing people. I just hate their shitty donuts. Okay. Anyway, God. You guys might think I'm kidding. I have an actual passionate rage against Dunkin' Donuts. God, I hate them. Okay. So, finishing up the case stuff. My family case is basically resolved. The kids are home. There's a rumor that the grandparents or whatever have moved in with us. That rumor comes from an idea that was thrown about in the early part of the case as a way to get the children home sooner. It was an idea that was not ever something I wanted to do, but of course would have done that if it would have brought my kids home sooner. I thought it was an insane proposition. And so did the county, frankly. The county attorney and the county services offices were not interested in that. The judge didn't really seem interested in that. One lawyer proposed it. I never liked that lawyer. The lawyer who brought it up the first time, I was nonplussed and non-impressed with his non-performance. It was his baby, and he was like, oh, it's a great idea. No, it was a terrible fucking idea, you weirdo. But hey, he brought it up, and so then it got bandied about back and forth. It was never really on the table as a viable option. Very silly thing. Was shot down over and over. But hey, one guy was really married to that idea. Go figure. But no, the kids are back home. They're back home full time. They're here now. They're asleep because it's bedtime. All of that. And it's great. It's really nice to have them back. To everybody who said otherwise, like, oh, Nick doesn't want his kids back. Yeah, okay. Yeah, your internet stuff is funny, but real life is real. And reality matters. And the reality of the situation is that 5 kids were put into really a lot of bullshit. And it's built on the backs of bullshit. And that bullshit takes a long fucking time to fight and correct, especially when your rights are abridged during the process. So that being said, that phase is over, and now we move on to the criminal phase of our case. I say phases, they're separate cases. They just run parallel. But the criminal matter is ongoing. I cannot talk about it. Let me put a little asterisk there. People can always talk about their criminal cases unless there's a gag order. When I say in this instance about my criminal case that I cannot talk about it, I certainly can. I have the ability to. I have the First Amendment right to. But it's not wise to talk about most aspects of the case. And so those aspects of the case that should not be talked about, I won't talk about. There are a couple things that through this process I have felt comfortable talking about and issuing specific statements on. Usually It's a statement about Minnesota law. Like when I talked about the filing of the long-term placement plans, even though the children were not looking at long-term placement, I felt it would be useful to dispel the improper notion that they were going to be placed on some permanent basis outside of the home or a long-term basis outside of the home. I thought it useful to dispel that notion, educate people, say, hey, actually, Minnesota requires these timelines and things have to be filed by certain dates, even if they're not the trajectory that the case is going. So they run them parallel to what's actually going on, because there's always a chance that the people on the track will fuck up and go off the track and they'll have to go with the alternate plan. And once that happens, they're up against a statutory timeline. And so they have to run them both with the hope that the one thing goes right and the fear that the backup plan will need to be used. I tried to explain that because it's a point of Minnesota law and it doesn't actually say anything specific about my case. Other stuff I've talked about is rather general. I've talked about things like what Minnesota has to prove in our criminal case. They have to prove something called possession, probably constructive possession. There are elements to it. I'm not going to get into it now, but that's what they have to do. There are facts in my case that make this not the easiest thing in the world, and those facts may be brought before the court. People have consistently gotten things wrong about what's going on outside of the courtroom. I'm not always inclined to correct them, but one of them that happened early on, for example, was Lady Rackets and I both posted bond at the exact same time. For whatever reason, her bond did not get filed into her case, and people thought that I posted bond and she did not, and that there was some speculation about some rift or some plan or some setup there, when actually it was just a government mistake. The government has made mistakes all over this case. In fact, some of the documents that have come out, specifically unredacted documents, are due to some level of government mistake somewhere. That's just how it is. There's a lot of things that go on in these things, in these cases. A lot of people touch them and mistakes get made all the time. I want that to be clear because people both underemphasize and overemphasize government mistakes, government malfeasance, and government maliciousness. They're not all the same thing. Government makes mistakes all the time. Those errors don't always and often don't have an impact on the overall case, but the mistakes still happen. The filing, the lack of filing of the bond for Lady Rackets at the same time that mine was filed probably was not going to have any income. There's a theoretical possibility that the bond not being filed could in some way lead to, like that weekend before it got corrected, something happening that would look like a violation of release conditions that would then result in some sort of hearing, which would be annoying and possibly have like an arrest included, but it would be a mistake that wasn't anybody's like particular fault. But the likelihood of that was exceedingly low. So it wasn't that big of a deal. And there wasn't anything we could do to correct it, because I think we posted the bond and then we found out that it hadn't been filed by Friday. And over the weekend, you can't like fix it. You have to wait till the next work day to do so. And when I went in to go fix it, it was already done. Like they had already fixed it. They must have known about it. I'm guessing they got inquiries. I'm not sure, but that happens. People need to get out of their heads the idea that every government mistake is going to is somehow impactful to the case. Some of them are just government mistakes. There are mistakes that can be very impactful to the case. We saw this with Alec Baldwin's case, right? It resulted in a dismissal. Some people think the dismissal is improper. I'm hearing people say the dismissal is improper. Look, I've seen some proper dismissals. I've seen improper dismissals. None of them measure up. Alec's really good, quite good actor, not a great guy. Look, whatever you think about the Baldwin case, a mistake was made and it was very impactful. Whether it was the right impact, wrong impact, doesn't matter. Very impactful thing. In other cases, bigger mistakes get made and they don't do anything at all to the case. So when I'm saying that mistakes happen or didn't happen or whatever, people misunderstand things based on government mistakes sometimes, like that's just the nature of the game. It's not always malicious. One of the things I said not too long ago is really true, when you start getting one of the things is really true is a weird thing to say, but I'll say it. When you start getting into court cases and how government works and the machine of it. Actually, I think Josh mentioned this on the forum as something I said. He's again trying to imply something that is more than what I said, but that doesn't, let's just do it this way. I said at one point that people overestimate what a conspiracy needs to be. It's not always a conspiracy that fucks someone over. What happens is that one government worker not doing their job well enough in one spot can cause a ton of problems, even up to and including criminal charges and stuff like that. I'm not saying that happened specifically in my case before anybody accuses me of saying that. I'm not. However, there are little mistakes that have happened in my case that have caused great consternation at other parts of the case. And those little mistakes are probably inadvertent. But the point of that is to say that the system is set up in a way in which very small mistakes from one individual can have massive impact on the life of an accused person. The reason I bring that up is only to say this system is a meat grinder, and it is designed to wear you down, break you down, shame you, and destroy you. And if you don't believe that, get in it sometime. Actually, don't, because it's fucking horrible. But that's how the system works. And just those little laziness or laxities can lead to big problems for people. That's a reality that exists. People should understand that all of your rights, all of the things that protect you, that's all paper, baby. Bullets have taken away a lot of rights, and cops have been let off for those bullets, even when the bullets fired are unjust. Obviously, no one was shot in this case. Thank Christ. No one was shot in this case. Could have happened, but it didn't. But those little mistakes that are forgiven all the time are why the government needs to be held to the maximum standard, because they hold the power over you in a way that you cannot even compete with. The government makes press releases that are absolutely devastating. You want to see one? Here you go. What do you think about this guy? What do you think about this guy? I'll tell you what I think in advance, because I know this is going to get misinterpreted just by the context of the conversation. I think this guy deserves probably to have his nuts pulled off by a leather belt being tightened and tied to a train. Okay? Just to put it out there. Here we go. Here's this crazy news story straight out of Minnesota. From the U.S. Attorney's Office, District of Minnesota, volleyball coach indicted for sexually exploiting minors on social media and producing child sexual abuse material. Okay, before we go farther, I'm guessing this is a federal case. We've covered federal child sexual exploitation cases. They're gross. They usually have a massive amount of evidence. They usually have logs of the person being gross, electronic communications that have been captured through sort of like catfishing or sting operations. I haven't looked this one up. We're gonna, because it's probably really fucking interesting. But imagine this. This is a press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office. This guy doesn't get to defend himself publicly the way the U.S. Attorney's Office gets to accuse him publicly. And just that power disparity alone, because anything he says will be used against him in court. Anything the government says won't be used against them. That power disparity alone is why the protections are built into the system. Now, this guy probably deserves the wall, if you know what I'm saying. And we are going to look up this case, not tonight, but we're going to look it up really soon. This should horrify you as the subject of the case. A Minnetonka man has been indicted for the production and receipt of child sexual abuse material and coercing and enticing minors to engage in sexually explicit conduct, announced U.S. Attorney Andrew M. Luger. According to court documents, on multiple occasions between approximately October 2014 and March 2024, that's only a decade, guys, only a full decade, Dorian Christopher Bars, age 32, use Snapchat, text messaging, and social media to engage minor girls in sexually focused conversations. Anybody want to guess where he was employed? Maple Grove as a high school volleyball coach for the girls team. I'm betting, right? Like, probably not for the boys team. Public schools, they always nail it. And when I say they always nail it, I'm talking about teachers nailing minors. Because it happens way too fucking often. Let's get back to it. Let's see. Additionally, while in his position of trust as a volleyball coach, Bars coerced and persuaded minor girls to engage in sexual activity with him and produce and send him sexually explicit material. Further, Bars produced child sexual abuse material in which he is depicted engaging in sexual activity with minors. Efforts to identify additional minor victims reflected in records are ongoing. Some of the minor victims Bars solicited for sexually explicit material or sexual contact have self-identified in records as being as young as 13 years old. Law enforcement is still working to identify and confirm the identity of many of the minor victims involved. If you have been victimized by Dorian Bars or know someone who has, please contact the FBI tip line, 1-800-CALL-FBI, or tips.fbi.gov. And seriously, if you know anything about this guy, yeah, that's one you should go ahead and one of the few times you should talk to the police. The indictment charges Bars with 4 counts of production of child pornography, 1 count of receipt of child pornography, and 4 counts of coercion enticement of a minor. Bars made his initial appearance yesterday in the U.S. District Court before Magistrate Judge John F. Dougherty. This case is a result of an investigation conducted by the Carver County Sheriff's Office with assistance from the Minnetonka Police Department, Maple Grove Police Department, and the FBI Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Force. It was brought as part of Project Safe Childhood, a nationwide initiative to combat the growing epidemic of child sexual exploitation and abuse, launched in May 2006 by the Department of Justice, led by U.S. Attorney's Offices and the Child Exploitation Obscenity Section, CEOs. Project Safe Childhood marshals federal, state, and local resources to better locate, apprehend, and prosecute. This is a fucking ad. Prosecute individuals who exploit children via the internet, as well as to identify and rescue victims. More information about it, please visit blah, 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 justice.gov/PSC. So their Assistant U.S. Attorney Hillary A. Taylor is prosecuting the case. So yeah, and then at the bottom, an indictment is merely an allegation. The defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. I bet he feels presumed innocent. Oh, God. Presumed innocent was... No, never mind. It's gross. Ew. But here's the thing. This is illustrative. That is inflammatory. I hate that guy. I've never met him in my life. Hate him. Think he should probably be dead. But I don't know. Right? And that guy can't issue a press release like that. If he uses a press release like that, it'll be slapped all over him. It'll be brought right into court. That'll just be played. It'll be like, ew. No matter what he says, ew, go to prison. Because of course he should, if he's guilty. But it's wild, the amount of prejudicial power the government holds, right? And sometimes it's valuable and valid. Sometimes you need it. You need that prejudicial power to overcome something, overcome a presumption in the opposite direction. That prejudicial power is what allowed the church to finally be investigated. To finally be investigated for the exploitation of minors that have been going on for decades, right? They had to overcome the goodwill, as it were, of the Catholic Church across several dioceses, across the whole world, really. There are plenty of organizations that have that goodwill in spades. Public schools still get it. The government has to prosecute itself over and over and over because they just can't stop fucking kids. Guys, let that sink in. The government has to prosecute itself because it can't stop fucking kids. And people still send their children there every single day and all the time. Iceman says, legit question, Nick. Can you talk about the factors that allowed for a win in the custody, or does that have ramifications for your criminal case? That all has to wait. That whole story has to wait. Sorry, it's just not proper yet. Let's see. What do we got here? Pendar says, you got this. Faith in you. Hey, thanks, Pendar. Azrael Bain says, if I remember right, what lit the fuse on Sean's tampon initially was Nick explaining to him that Josh is a spurg that doesn't understand basic human interaction. Been a hormonal fat woman about it ever since. There are reasons for that. There are reasons for that.
Well, I'm a farmer. Hey, fellow farmers. Hey, guys, I'm on the farms too. Huh?
All right. Best of luck to you. Most Dope 401. Camelot 331 is the bros of fucking bros and goes real fast and real left. He sure does. Good job. What's up, Camelot? I see you in the chat, brother. How you doing? Kevin Brownell says, is there a difference between your family case being resolved and the case being dismissed? If there is, which is it? For another time, brother. For another time. Okay. What do we got now? All right, let's go to the Kamala Harris story, which is really just filler. It was really just fucking filler for the just wanted to talk about the case and all that shit. Right, please acknowledge DJC807 so he can finally get that tingle in his penis that he's pleading for. Who's that? Is he saying like something funny? You need to focus on your family, bro. Get off the internet. All the people saying I needed to focus on my family, like, thought that I wasn't getting my kids back. And it's like, that's what I was doing this whole time. Like, you stream too much. It's like, I stream like once a week right now. They're like, too much. You got to spend your stream time getting your kids back. It's like the government's closed, bro. I can't even do anything. Like, literally, there were only so many hours of the week I could be doing something. And I spent a ton of it doing exactly what everybody said I wasn't doing. They're like, Nick's not even trying. It's like, fuck, every day. Every single day, the focus was, what can we do? What can we do? How do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do this? Oh, and by the way, when you read those transcripts and stuff, and you see anything even implying or insinuating that we weren't doing literally fucking everything they asked all the time, that's what they do to you. That's what they do to you. You can do everything they ask perfectly, and they will somehow find a way to say that you're not complying. Here's one of the interesting ways they do it. This is fun. If you don't have a lawyer who knows what they're doing, for example, this happens to people in family court cases a lot. Didn't happen to us. I want to be very clear. Didn't happen to us. We had lawyers eventually who knew what they were doing. Our first lawyers did not. They were garbage. They still are. I'll tell you the story of our garbage lawyers someday, but not yet. So here we go. This happens in family court cases all the time. The county workers will demand, as part of some condition, substantial improvement towards parenting goals. All right? And when you ask them what the parenting goals are, they don't have them. I know that sounds weird. I know that sounds really weird because you're like, well, they're telling you they want you to improve like on their goals. It's like, well, what are the goals? Well, we don't know. We just want you to get better at parenting. It's like, well, what does that mean? And they don't have an answer. They just want it to do better. And so people who don't have lawyers go into that and they go, oh, okay, well, it's obvious. I need to do this, this, and this. I need to be better at parenting. So I need to do these things that I think are better at parenting. And then that will work. And they'll work on those things and maybe they'll get better, whatever. But then the county will come and say, well, they have not made significant improvement on their parenting goals because they didn't ever define the parenting goals. And this holds up in court all the time because the county comes in and says, actually, judge, they're not making significant improvement on their parenting goals. And the person's sitting there with their dick in their hands going, wait a minute. They shouldn't do that in court, but they are. And they're sitting there going, wait a minute. What was I supposed to do? I did this and this and this. And they're like, that wasn't in our parenting. Like, we didn't discuss you doing that. This is how these things work. It's the levers of government. Without getting into details, our first attorneys never, ever got specificity out of the expectations we had. Everything was vague. And because of that vagary, the government was able to frame a narrative out of whatever the hell they wanted. And the judge is going to defer to the government workers because judges don't have time to really personally analyze things. They're relying on the people who do the field work. Those people bring it in. Here's the work, judge. Here's what we've done. Here's our efforts. Here's the parents' efforts. We find them insufficient, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. At the beginning of our case, those vague things started coming because our lawyers weren't doing anything. I got criticized for objecting in court, and it's because I was screaming at my lawyer off the mic to object, and she wouldn't, and she should have, but she didn't. Bad lawyers, fuck you. And when your kids are on the line, man, you can't afford them. But anyway, our lawyers weren't doing anything at the beginning of the case. And so the government kept saying there were things we had to do, and they had never told us what those things were. We're like, we are trying to do everything. People make a big deal out of another thing that I mentioned in the, it's in the transcripts. The day that Alicia Sweep came to my house, I had called them 10 times that morning because I wanted them to come out and inspect the house. We knew they needed to come inspect the house. I'd called them, please, please come out. I left messages. I left voicemails on her and another worker's phones, just trying to get a hold of someone. We were never served a document. We didn't even know we had hearings until the day of, because they didn't give us the information. The internet had information before we did in our cases. We're scrambling to try and figure things out, what we need to do. So I'm calling these people, just desperately trying to get them on the phone. They never returned a phone call, not one time. And then they showed up at our house. People are like, why are you calling them 10 times? Dude, they have my kids. They had my children. Of course I'm calling them. I want them back. I want to get them back in their home. And trying desperately to get the workers out to do it. And they don't. And my lawyers didn't do anything. And we got new lawyers. Our new lawyers got the government to just define what we needed to do. Well, new lawyers plus me spurging out. Once we got the government to define what they wanted from us, it was easy. But they didn't do it at first. They didn't want to. They didn't have to. Have your kids. What do you do? Beg. Please tell us what to do. Please come to our house. Please do these things. Please let us just fucking show you. But they don't return your call. What do you do? Call again. It's amazing. It's amazing. That was months. That was our life for months. You call the government constantly, asking for them to tell you what you need to do. Please, just tell us what you need to do. They don't tell you. Then they go into court and say they're not doing the thing. All right. Like I said, this full story is great. I'll tell it eventually. It's going to take a while because all of our cases have to be resolved. I have to be vague about it now. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody, even people I hate. No way. No one should have to be under the thumb of government. They don't operate reasonably. All right. Here we go. Harvey Weinstein says, can DSP help you on your case? I think he's the answer. No, DSP's commentary has been great. I very much appreciate him. The Iceman 101-418 says, F word CPS. Their child psychologist almost took me away from my dad, who wasn't the one slapping me. Bunch of hacks, bias against good parents. Debbie says, aloha, Nick, proud of you. Not that you need that from me. Thank you. I do. As a pediatric and L&D labor and delivery nurse, I've never seen reunification this quickly. Speaks volumes about you, your character, and your strength of your family. Well, again, here's the problem. Despite the internet rumors, the people that they went around and talked to who actually know us, know our family, and know our kids, all said there's one thing they were 100% positive of, that the kids love their parents and the parents love the kids. We had a great relationship. Of course, that was always true. I know, again, there's a headcanon fantasy out there that like says that I don't want to be around my kids or some crazy shit like that. Because I would say, people would ask me why you're not streaming. It's like, guys, I'm really fucking I can't. My schedule's not allowing it right now. We need to get through the school year before I can change things up because my schedule's crazy. They're like, Nick doesn't even want to be around his kids. No, if I didn't want to be around my kids, I would just have streamed or something instead of being around them. But it's like, no, like that was just a reality. And people made that into something else. But when you get down to the actual people who actually know us, you find, yeah, everybody seems to think you guys have a great relationship with your kids and they really love you and you really love them and you're really involved. It's like, yes, very much so. Shocker. All right, here we go. Buckmaster says, Nick, you will tell us everything eventually, just like people get the 5K gift and you will do anything else you promised. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So here we go. Let's get to this next. Here's the story. This is analysis. Analyzes Donald Trump questioning Kamala Harris's race shows he doesn't understand code switching. No, we're not talking the Konami code, like up, down, left, right, BA/start or whatever. Is it Konami? Contra? This is a great face of Trump. His lips are very unread. He does not, like, that man does not have. I figured he, little more oxygen in the lips. They're not very red. They're not thin. They're juicy. Juicy lips. I can put them on yours. This is by Aaron Morrison. Oh, God, look at this guy. I thought it was going to be a fat white guy or a fat white woman. Now it's like a mid-fat black guy, which may be worse. You're genetically supposed to be muscular. That was racist. Kamala Harris has range. She can grill nominees for the Supreme Court or meet with foreign dignitaries, then pivot to hosting a Diwali celebration or dancing enthusiastically alongside an HBCU-style marching band. Historically Black college and university is HBCU. It's actually how big can you get that booty, HBCU. It is a dexterity. See, I'm coding black right now, like a preacher. The first, that Harris, the first Black woman and Asian American to serve as vice president, developed as a person of color. Like, which one, brother? He's doing this on purpose. He's shifting through the fucking rainbow of races here to navigate the corridors of power or Main Street in a nation where race and identity influence how one is received or embraced. Well, look, if you asked Piper Perry, your race may determine how you're received. But that's none of my business. D what? With a huge fucking super chat. Thank you. Says, grats on getting your kids back. Holy crap, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Holy fuck. Yanon says, let's see. Why did your wife tell your kids that this was the consequences of our actions, as recalled by your CPS worker? As recalled by my CPS worker is a fun thing. I don't know. Why don't you ask the CPS worker what that conversation was about? That's right. The CPS worker who specifically testified that that was the only evidence. The only evidence. Go look at the question. Do you have any evidence of the Rekida's usage of substances? I think was the question. And she said one thing. Mrs. Ricada, while embracing her son in the hallway, said, these are the consequences of our actions. And the follow-up was, what was that in reference to? Was that a question about substance use? What was that question about? Do you even know? And the answer was, no, I don't know. Isn't that amazing? So what the government worker did was took a line that she heard, created a context to suggest that that line was evidence against us as far as substance use. But the mildest pushback was, really though? And her answer was, actually, I don't know. It was great. I didn't hear that conversation, so I have no idea what it was about at all. I know it wasn't about substance use. But here's the thing, guys. Right now, I can tell you that you are here as a consequence of your actions. You are here as a consequence of my actions. So am I. That statement is always true, no matter where you are or what you're talking about. But for everybody making a big deal out of that, go read the pushback. It's one of the only good things that lawyer of mine did was saying, what was that conversation about? She's like, I don't know. So it's not actually evidence of substance use, is it? No. So you don't have any? No. Oh. Everybody overlooks that testimony. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't know she said that. I wasn't there for that conversation. In fact, like I didn't even know, like I didn't believe that that conversation happened. I'm more convinced now that something like that did happen, but I don't know what it was about. It's fucking amazing. They just get to say stuff. So here we go. Back to this thing. Harris, the daughter of immigrants from Jamaica and India, is an adroit code switcher, a term that can include deliberately adjusting one's speech style and expression to optimize relatability and ensure she gets the message across. Remember when Hillary Clinton was fucking excoriated, rightfully so, for talking about, I carry hot sauce around in my purse full of fried chicken or whatever in the Black Baptist church? Remember that's like, I got me my fried chickens and hot sauces in my purse. I keep it in my purse. Like, that was code switching. It was just embarrassing. Now, Kamala Harris does this, of course, because she has to be black. She has to be black because they need black votes. They don't need dark-skinned people's votes. They need African-American votes. She's not, but they need her to be. So they're going to forgive the code switching. But they're even like you. They were even like you when Obama did it. They're like, they're all sitting there pulling Eric July lines on Obama, right? They're like, look at this white bread ass N-word. Like, Obama's like, I'm out here cooking my fried chicken. No, you aren't. You're in mom jeans on a bike, bro. Like, stop. You're not like, I'll play some basketball. He played basketball and sunk 1 for 3 or whatever from the line, 1 for 10. I don't know. Not enough. Better than me because I don't play basketball. But he still was embarrassing. Like, he should have never missed a shot. That's what I heard they do. TMF Squid says the AI chat summary thinks you're Nick Fuentes. We all know that you're a latent gay fag, but apparently you're now a closeted fag that gets no pussy. Viewers are discussing Nick Fuentes' recent drama and making various observations about his behavior in relationships. They mentioned drug use, monogamy, and his children. Wow. Nick, you're on, buddy. Chat's not looking at you well. Okay, anyway, back to this thing. So she's an adroit code switcher, deliberately adjusting one's speech, style, and expression to optimize relatability and ensure she gets the message across. Former President Donald Trump. Trump is a code switcher too, by the way. Trump's a billionaire who eats KFC on his fucking private plane. That's what makes Trump good at being Trump. is that he's a guy with a gold-plated toilet stapled to his gold-plated floor on his gold-plated floor of a fucking building. And he's like, I love blue-collar workers. They're wonderful. Great people. Perfect. I was in the coal mines yesterday. You know, like he can do it. He pulls it off. And they're like, he doesn't understand code switching. No, he understands it very well. He's just calling Kamala fake at it. Former President Donald Trump, during a contentious interview session at a meeting of the National Association of Black Journalists, the NABJA, showed no familiarity with the concept. He implied that Harris is inauthentic for embracing all aspects of her heritage. His failure to recognize code switching also speaks to a prevailing belief that whiteness, often correlated with speaking in plainly enunciated English, is the default in our politics and democracy. Obama specifically had to deal with this from blacks, right? Like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton were like, he's not black enough for us. Barack Obama has never been black enough to represent us in America. Quote, we need to be celebrating our whole selves, which means we need to celebrate all of our identities, said Christine Chen, not Christine Chan, co-founder and executive director of APIA Vote, a nonpartisan civic engagement organization focused on the Asian American Pacific Islander community. Okay, cool. The more that a candidate can embrace their multiple identities. Oh, well, now they're just saying it. Now they're just saying it. I think that's a way to connect with different communities and different people who identify on different issues that you stand on, added Chen, who is a Chinese American. Trump, who falsely suggested to the annual gathering of black journalists that the vice president has been misleading voters about her race, waded into murkier waters by insinuating Harris cannot be trusted because she happened to turn black after she promoted her Indian heritage. Look, she was running tech support. She had one of those funny hats. She's out in the streets. And then suddenly she's black. She's playing basketball. She's doing things. She's locked up in prison in California because she locked herself up. Kamala Harris, very good at jailing blacks. Way better. Most people, I'm hearing from a lot of people. A lot of people are saying it. Trump, you're very good at things, but Kamala Harris is better at one thing than you. No, she isn't. She's never beaten me at anything. I would beat that woman senseless. She would never beat me at anything. Jailing blacks. Well, actually, no, she is very good at jailing blacks. Quite good. I've seen it. I've seen lots of people do it. Nobody does it better than Kamala Harris. She happened to turn black after she promoted her Indian heritage. Harris doesn't need to code switch to prove she's a black and Indian American woman. She was born that way. Born that way. Shireen Marisol Meraji, former co-host of the award-winning NPR podcast Code Switch. Man, how many gamers were pissed off about that? Code switch. This sounds, oh shit. Said Harris's identity is layered like an onion and can still be challenging to navigate in a nation that once encouraged multiracial people to favor one identity over the other. Once the last minority candidate for office was Obama, and they encouraged him to do it, and it was the Democrats. If you notice, no one encouraged Barack Obama to embrace his whiteness. Actually, one of my law professors, there were two conservative law professors at my school. One of them was black. He was hilarious. And they're at a staff meeting, and all of the liberal professors are super happy about Barack Obama, right? So black guy, and they're all white. And the black guy stands up. The black conservative guy, I say conservative in quotes. He's not that conservative, but for law school, he's fucking Hitler or whatever. The black guy stands up and says, was it Barack Obama's blackness or his whiteness that allowed him to succeed at Harvard? And then sat down. And all of the white professors, all of their buttholes puckered up because they didn't know how to answer the dark man with the good question. But this is an amazing article to me because it's exactly what they did to Obama. You need to be black. You're the first black president. Obama was the 44th or 43rd white president. He's not the first black president. Obama was as much the 43rd white president as he was the first black president. He didn't have to code switch. He was forced to be black at all times. He's not very good at it, right? He's not cool. But it's amazing that these people, like, they're forced to pick a side. It's like you literally made him into a black man. Never let him embrace his whiteness, whatever that would. I don't even know what that would mean, but he was never allowed to. If you walk through the world as I have, where I'm trying very much to embrace both sides of myself, then it's like you get put through these authenticity tests, says Mirage, who is of Iranian and Puerto Rican heritage. Miraji, not Mirage, Miraji. An assistant professor of race and journalism at the University of California, Berkeley. Oh, God. Miraji added, the ability to code switch and go into different communities is a huge asset. And I think for people who are in competition with Kamala Harris, it's also quite threatening. Many politicians of color code switch to ensure vital information is delivered to voters and constituents with cultural resonance. It's a familiar concept among Americans of color, including the 33.8 million people identified as being more than one race, according to the last U.S. Census. Code switching is hardly new and isn't a skill entirely foreign to white people. You get mad at white people when they do it. You're really fucking mad at white people when they do it. But it remains one of the most effective communication tools that politicians of color use to wield influence and gain power in venues where they have historically not had it. Yeah, you're right. Like an Indian politician would have no power in an Indian population, so they got a code switch, I guess, to do it. Code switching can help increase the likelihood of receiving fair treatment, getting quality service, or landing job opportunities for people who are disadvantaged or overlooked due to systemic racism. Wait a minute. Why? Are they saying that like minorities should code switch to white to get a job? Or are they saying that you need to code switch into the minority at the minority owned business? They use a minority owned business like term. I fucking hate that term. It's weird, but like that's their term. I'm not applying that. Like, what are they actually saying there? Because that's kind of racist. Let's see. After Trump questioned Harris's race in response to a question about his own diversity, equity, and inclusion rhetoric, interviewer Rachel Scott of ABC News countered by citing elements of the vice president's biography that might prove she's black. Might prove? Wait, how do you might prove someone is black? Let's see. Harvey Weinstein says, is Frank Hassel good for society? I believe so. I mean, Frank Hassel's Frank Hassel. I had him on the show. We had a good interview. I don't know what he's up to these days. Is he good for society? Some of the stuff he does, I don't know if it's the safest thing in the world, but as long as he's not violating like people's rights, I guess. Buckmaster says, how does it feel to be such a whack dad? People have to say grats on getting your kids back. The grift is good. It feels really good to get your kids back when the government takes them away. I don't know what else to say about it. Sorry. Like, I know kind of what you like want me to get from that, but it doesn't work because I'm just fucking elated, man. Like, okay. John Jelaine says, Kamala Llama Ding Dong Do. Camel Llama Ding Dong Do. It's a camel and a llama and a Kamala National Mamala. Kamalama Ding Dong Do. Dude, those are weird fucking songs. I think there's an inside politics joke that I don't know in there, and I commend you for it. Let's see. Space Allen says, you don't have to air all your dirty laundry. You're loaded. You should reward yourself with a sip of a fine whiskey. Well, that would be nice, but it's not really appropriate at this time. And believe me, I'm not airing all of my dirty laundry. I'm not airing much of anything. Jason of TGA says, transcoding precedent was set by Transmeta inventing CPUs going against Intel. Well worth the deep dive. Oh, okay. All right, here we go. Where are we? Oh, yeah, that might prove she is black. I love this. Scott noted that Harris attended Howard University, one of the nation's most prominent historically black colleges and universities. At Howard, Harris pledged the historically black sorority Alpha Kappa Alpha. And most pointedly, her Jamaican father and Indian mother both immigrated to the U.S. during the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s. Well, if they immigrated to the United States during the Civil Rights Movement, that makes them black automatically. Wait, what? It's also false to claim that Harris has only embraced being black or Indian or code switch between the two when it benefited her politically. When else did she do it? Or are they saying she code switched to more races? I don't know. We'll have to check in a minute. Uh-oh. First, we've got a word from another sponsor. That's right. This will be good, I think. This is from, I love this already, Be Naked. Go to benaked.com/studio. Get 15% off today. You can use the QR code. Look, I got to read the script. If you're one of those people who use the phrase toxic masculinity because you're intimidated by real men who embrace their primal instincts, who writes these? Their primal instincts, you should probably turn this off right now. Literally. That's right. You should turn it off. As a man, you're the rock people depend on, a shoulder to cry on, a fighter, a lover, a protector to many. We at Rumble created Be Naked as a brand that celebrates manhood and champions masculinity. Men with real balls. Men with real balls that share our enthusiasm for clean, non-woke, and agenda-free products dedicated to helping you dominate every challenge life throws at you. Oh, God, I'm going to get fucked by this one. I am. Because we all know that life will always test us, push us, and challenge us. So when life kicks you and you need to kick back harder, you need to tap into that primal strength. This is why you need our supplement, Naked Organs. Come on. Naked Organs. Our signature product will help you unleash your inner beast. Naked Organs come from the purest and strongest animals on the earth, the fearless bison. I can't. This is great. I don't even know what this does, and I love this. It's nature's multivitamin. That's right. We grind up some fucking bisons. We shove them into pills. You eat that shit, and then you're naked as hell. It's nature's multivitamin powerhouse, delivering endless energy, regulating hormone health, boosting that testosterone, and enhancing muscle recovery with natural creatine. Go to Be Naked right now. Go to Be Naked right now and pick up some Naked Organs. Look, the guy at least had fun writing this, right? Pick up some Naked Organs to embrace your manhood. You know, should have read this one in June. I guess. I know when I want to embrace my manhood, I just go grab some Naked Organs. I don't know about you guys. Embrace your manhood. That's benaked.com/studio. Use the promo code studio to save 15% off your first subscription order. Celebrate being a man, getting healthy, living naked. And as you know, I'm a firm supporter of it when appropriate. Not around kids, you weirdos. And putting your hard-earned dollars towards supporting freedom-loving creators like me on Rumble, not the woke mob. That's it. benaked.com/studio. Go grab some Naked Organs. Get out there and manly grab some manly Naked Organs. I cannot believe I'm fucking dying. Kimmy Joe says Biden's administration put Tulsi Gabbard on a terrorist watch list. Well, she was terrorizing them. Amazing. Okay, back to this. We're going to finish up this thing. We'll probably in the show before too long. I'm just sitting here reveling at how fucking great of an ad that was. That was Naked Organs, man. I know it sounds like some sort of like a daily vitamin thing. Give it a shot, I guess. Like, look, Let me get serious for a second. Very important. I'll get my low serious voice on. Look, guys, some of you out there, I know. You get older, you're like, fuck. I guess I need one of these daily vitamins. Centrum Silver seems gay because if I take that, I'm in a nursing home. And everything else is called like hornbosterone or whatever. Or like beta prostate. I don't take that beta shit. Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to eat bison in pill form. The sensible savage, right? The sensible savage is to grind up a bison and shove it into a capsule and eat that. Look, if you're looking for something, if you're looking for a multivitamin, if you're looking for things to kind of regulate shit in your body as you get older, give it a peek. BeNaked.com. Seriously, like go look. If you're looking around, I'm not saying everybody needs to go out and buy supplements. I don't know if that's against the rules. They didn't say so. But if you're looking for a supplement, give it a shot. There. That was a little more serious. Because I know there are guys out there who are like, well, shit. Kind of tired every day, whatever. You go looking for some solutions. And you're not rich enough to do what the like senators do, where they just grind up children and like eat those or whatever. Like Nancy Pelosi just sucking the souls out of daycares. Like you have to eat ground up bison. Nancy Pelosi just goes by daycare, goes banshee screams and inhales their souls as they're whisked from their bodies. And then she gets 8 years older, but still lives forever. How are my kids? They're pretty good, man. They're really happy to be home. Like exceedingly happy. Okay, here we go. So this is the other time she embraced being something. In 2003, the year Harris was elected San Francisco district attorney, she told a local newspaper chain many people were not used to her identity. My Indian heritage is just as strong as my African American heritage. One does not exclude the other, Harris said. Jun Rong says, meh, I'm not sold. Maybe if Nick performs a cheerleader routine chanting, be naked, be naked. That'd be cool. You got to be naked, be naked, got to BENAKED. That's all the letters, naked. There you go. As a candidate for California Attorney General, the one line, look, when she was elected San Francisco District Attorney, she said this. As a candidate for California Attorney General, she spoke of her late mother, Shayamala Gopalan, teaching her and her sister to share in the pride of our culture. Which in 2009, Harris told the outlet India Abroad, when we think about it, India is the oldest democracy in the world. So that is part of my background, and without question has had a great deal of influence on what I do today and who I am. Guys, India being the oldest democracy in the world should tell you why democracies are fucking horrible. India has not been a great government. And we're not a democracy. I don't want to be one. Like it's 2000. I don't know how much India has changed or done whatever. I just know that India had a caste system where the naming scheme for poor Indians was determined by their class. And the low class ones only got one name, whereas the upper class got like 4 or 5 names. But the one name people were named like garbage or toilet or like shitty toothbrush and stuff. It's like, it wasn't like a good system. Like, oh, this one works. We rebooted it every time. Kate of the Swiss says, so are you saying Angels Envy Rye finished in rum barrels is the best for someone that retches at straight up spirits, looking for something that doesn't make me want to puke the moment it hits the tongue? It's a very good whiskey at that price point, about $100 a bottle. It's one of the best $100 bottles there is. It is an accessible whiskey to people who maybe haven't had a ton. I'd give it a shot. I'd recommend it every time. Angels Envy Rye. Yeah, finishing the Caribbean rum casks is really good. Kara Fro, welcome to Paralegal Status. Thank you. Thank you for that. So back to this thing. So it's the oldest democracy in the world. So that is part of my background, and without question has had a great deal of influence on what I do today and who I am. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. During the 2012 re-election campaign of Barack Obama, the nation's first black president, We got to start calling him the nation's 43rd white president. Harris related to being the underdog in races where her opponent could outspend her on commercial and ads. I beat the odds to become the first black attorney general, she said, referring to her 2010 election. Guys, okay, sorry, I didn't have the thing pulled up on the screen. Do you see what just happened here? Okay, so they're talking about her code switching. So she's coding black. That's the implication of the paragraph. She's coding black. So she's related to being the underdog in races where her opponent could outspend her on commercial and ads. Obama was the guy who outspent on commercial and ads. He had more money in 2012 than Mitt Romney by a fucking mile, if I remember right. Oh, we got $1 billion. So first of all, I don't know what they're saying. But when they say she's coding black, they're saying she's more poor than other people. I beat the odds to become the first black attorney general when I was poor and couldn't spend as much. Well, that's offensive, I think. Like, what about Snoop Dogg? That guy spends more than me. Ruse says, if one is disbarred, is it legal to still be able to work as a mediator? It depends on the state, I believe. I don't know that all mediators have to be licensed attorneys, but that'd be state by state. Space Allen says, go to bed, man. Cherish your kids when you wake up. I will. Like, this is not such a weird thing. Guys, it's me doing the show after the kids go to sleep does not mean I can't enjoy them when I wake up. Jason of TGA says, oh, wait, I read that one. Johnny Thomas 69 says, it's interesting that Democrats are clutching their pearls about code switching instead of acknowledging that Kamala Ding Dong is a manipulative cunt. I agree. Okay, back here. We've got Trump's challenging of Harris's identity, which drew groans and laughter, had echoes of him as the chief propagator of a false theory that Obama was ineligible to be president because he was not born in the U.S. Actually, the chief propagator of that was Hillary Clinton. Trump's Republican running mate, Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, on Wednesday aligned with Trump when he suggested Harris is a phony who caters to whatever audience is in front of her. No, that's just a chameleon. Lots of people are chameleons. Doesn't have anything to do with fucking code switching. Some people are code switching or chameleons. It doesn't even have to do with race. People do this all the time. Here's Vance again. I don't know if you saw this, but earlier this week, she went down to Georgia and started talking with a fake Southern accent. That's not black. It's a fake Southern accent. Vance told an audience at a rally in Glendale, Arizona, referencing Harris's Atlanta campaign event that featured a predominantly black audience. Fake Southern accent is not black. It's Southern. Vance, a white man whose wife is Indian American and his 3 children are of mixed heritage, is far from the first American politician to fixate on the speech and accents of politicians of color. In 2010, the late Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid came under fire for comments he made years earlier suggesting Obama's appealed to voters. I mean, I think they means Obama. Because he was a fair-skinned black man with no Negro dialect unless he wanted to have one. I love old Democrats. Old Democrats can say this shit that you can never say, and they just get a pass on all of it. Like Harry Reid came under fire. Harry Reid died in office shitting his pants or whatever. Like, well, he's fair-skinned. He has no Negro dialect unless he wants one. Now, listen here, Harry. I'm taking offense. White politicians, too, have been known to code switch when they are in front of a largely black or Latino audiences, and many have done so to varying degrees of success. In 2006, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was criticized for adapting her speech cadence while delivering remarks at Coretta Scott King's funeral at Atlanta's historic Ebenezer Baptist Church, where the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. once preached. So not only was she at a black church, she's at Coretta Scott King's funeral talking about hot sauce. Dear Lord. Democrat. The difference is that in the not so distant past, career survival for white politicians did not hinge on the ability to code switch. Harris continues to have a different lived experience. Chen said politicians of any race or identity can develop healthy relationships across all communities if they show compassion or are responsive to their constituents' needs. Get JD Vance some cornrows so he can go deliver a speech in fucking Detroit and see what happens. See what happens. Whether you are white or black or any other identity, how you show up in the community will determine whether or not it's an authentic relationship, she said. You're going to be able to address their concerns more effectively because you're actually more educated and understood what they're going through. Wait, this dumb bitch. If you code switch, so if you chameleon, you're more educated and understand what they're going through. So Kamala Harris being like, ayo, ayo, and wearing a sideways hat or whatever is now like more in tune with like, I don't know, rap community. What the fuck is she talking about? She literally just said, no, chameleons are more educated and they know better. No, that's not how that works. Like, chameleons do this naturally. They code switch into it. Here, to cell phone. I do this all the time. You sit and listen to a group of people talk. You pick up on little mannerisms or phrases or whatever. Doesn't matter if they're like, it's in a race thing. This can be generational. It can be, and if you need to get into people's like groups and relate to join a conversation, you do it. Some people do it more naturally than others. I do it fairly well. Hello, fellow kids. Hello. Heyo, fellow blacks. Like you just do it sometimes depending on where you are and what groups you're into. Like you can do that. Some people aren't so good at it. It doesn't mean you have any underlying knowledge of the culture that you're emulating. It just means that you're adopting various mannerisms, dialect, or vernacular that you've observed so that you can try and get into this thing with some familiarity instead of feeling like a fucking weirdo. Because otherwise, like, I don't know if you've ever, like you talk across generations. If you're a younger person and you're sitting around a bunch of old people, you might be in awe of their stories or like impressed by the way that they communicate one way or another. Like some of them will be extremely vulgar and crass in a way that is different than now, but somehow was acceptable then. But now the way they talk is not acceptable. Whereas the way other, like you might talk would be completely unacceptable in their day, and they're a guest and you're like, holy shit, but you just said the N-word like 55 times. And you feel like you don't belong in that group. Everybody's experienced, well, I shouldn't say everybody. Many people have experienced this. And then many other people like, no, I kind of just slide into groups and I can figure it out. You listen for a minute and you're like, okay, I can pick up the beat of this conversation. I know what we're talking about. And you can get in. That's how salesmen do it every day. Yeah, code switching is a thing that works. But implying that code switching means you're actually more educated and understand what someone's going through is not true. It can be just a pantomime of their communication that gives a false layer of familiarity and puts someone at ease, because you don't want them to feel like the stick in the mud in the conversation. Usually you're selling something. Jason TJ says, what's with the new pic of Macron kissing a black dude on a yacht? Real? What about his husband? I have no idea. It's real though. 100%. I don't know, but I'm going to say it is. Yeah, I don't know. Look, I love it. I love all this shit. I love the apologetics for everything that's been horrible forever, because now Kamala does it, and they need her. They need her to be black. They need the black vote. I think it's what is it? The black vote consists of what, like 12 to 15% of the voting population, going by basic demographics, which means without the black vote and a significant majority that the Democrats routinely hold, they lose. And they don't lose little. They lose huge. If Republicans can tap into the black vote, or even if the black vote becomes disenchanted with Democrats and stays home, Republicans win the election. It's basically that simple. That's how desperately they need the black vote. Kamala, she's allowed to code switch now. Trump is doing a very smart thing. Oh, she gets to choose to be black when she wants to. Black communities, I hate generalizing like this, but the rhetoric coming out of traditionally black communities and traditionally black voices is not that blackness gets to sit alongside other identities of the person. It's that blackness is to be fucking celebrated. So blackness is to be a heritage that is as worthy as whiteness or any other, not that it sits alongside them. So now you've got Democrats who have forever been touting like black identity as something important and being very, very integral to someone's core personhood, right? Forever they've been saying, now they're like, no, it's just the same as the other parts of them. And you're like, wait, but that's not what black voices have been saying and stressing and fighting for. That's not what Obama was. Obama was black. Obama was not half black. And if Kamala Harris is half black, half Indian, and she doesn't play ball with her black identity enough, she risks a group dynamic that she's not ready for. I think it's important to remember that African Americans get represented disproportionately by fucking insane people in the university and academia circles. People get touted on CNN and stuff, but they have consistently resisted overwhelmingly left-leaning social policy in regards to like LGBTQ and shit like that. They don't fuck around with a bunch of silliness. They have time, right? Their lived experience is to not have time to fuck around with that shit. Drex calls it fuck shit. How much that fuck shit? They don't. And agree or disagree, just take some of these speakers at their word. Say this is a historically disenfranchised people. Well, guess what? They don't have time for the historically disenfranchisedness of Kamala's Indian side because their historic disenfranchisement, even if you just accept this premise, their historic disenfranchisement is what defines their identity. Now, I'm not saying this is what other speakers have been saying for decades now. They've been telling the black culture in America that their identity is defined by their blackness, specifically their African-American ancestry, not just the dark color of their skin, but their heritage as a people brought here as a product of slavery and oppression. And that history matters so much as to impact them today in very real ways, either through oppression or through an indomitable spirit of overcoming. Like you can take it inspirational or you can take it in a derogatory manner. It doesn't really matter. What is critically consistent is that African-American blackness is a paramount status of identity in America. Now they have to side saddle it with an Indian heritage because of Kamala Harris, but they have to pretend that she's black enough to be black. Obama was the first black president. He's just as white. You never fucking heard it. Now they're going to be hearing that she's just as Indian as she is black. Is that going to energize and excite the black community to vote in the numbers required for Democrats to win? I don't know. But it's amazing that that's the move here. And that's only assuming she's half and half, which I don't think she is. But I'm just going to go with the main premise because they keep saying she's Indian and Jamaican or whatever. So, okay, let's say she's half and half. I don't think so. But let's say that, yeah, no, they're not going to. You have to energize the black community. That's why she needs to code switch to black. That's why they need black people to be okay with their other heritages and why that code switching matters. No, guys, trust us. Trust her. She's cool. She doesn't like cops. All right. D. What says it's not true. Rue says, can you do a Billary imitation? Wait, Billary? Like Bill Clinton doing a Hillary Clinton impression? Hi, Bill, get that bitch's mouth off your penis. You know, you're not supposed to have. That's what Hillary says all the time. Dr. Fark Melton says she's not having half. Yeah, look, I said I don't know. I'm just taking it as the maximum. The maximum would be she's half and half according to the article. But they're going to downplay that percentage, right? And anybody who brings it up is probably going to be racist. All right, we got a couple Rumble rants here. Jason TGA says, of the black vote, how many are gay? Really? When did they get on the rainbow? I don't know, man. He says, seems like old times. All roads lead back to Obama, gayness, Iran, and Hillary. Well, yeah, it's called Rome. ACAB True Crime says she freaking was a cop, like the highest pickup. Yeah, I know. That was the joke. Sorry. I do know that much. I know that I think she's personally put more black people in jail than any presidential candidate in history. So, all right, guys. With that, I think we're going to wrap up the show. Thank you so much for watching tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for being here for the news. Again, huge news for me and my family. And it's one step closer to it's one step closer to being kind of back on track and back to normalcy. I'm not over. I've got a ways to go on the criminal case. And I can't tell you about what's coming in it other than like what's like, I got a hearing at whatever time. Like that's those things are kind of out there. I can't talk to you about the specifics of the case because they have to be brought in very specific ways. But, anyway, to everybody out there who supports me, thank you so much. To everybody out there who doesn't, that's cool, man. I told you from the beginning, nobody has any reason to believe me. And I can't counter narratives by talking because I really restrained on what I am able to say reasonably without damaging my case. And so I have to accept the fact that people may not believe me and may not like me for a while. I'm sorry. That's okay though. I forgive everybody. There's nothing to forgive. You get to make the decisions about people based on what you can see. And you get one side of the story. And unfortunately, it's not mine. One day when I get to tell this story, even if everything I say comports exactly with what happens, I don't think you're going to believe some of it. But it's a damn good story. And I think you'll like hearing it. So that, with that, sometimes it sucks when your life is on display for people, but it is what it is. So at least I hope the show is something that you can get meaning for. Like I legitimately mean this, meaning for out of your life. I've learned a lot from what we've been going through, and people are going to take that statement in a very different way than I mean it. It's not a happy learning. There's real fucking heartbreak in our story. And it's not from anywhere that you guys will have any ability to know right now. I guarantee you, none of you know what I'm talking about as I say this, but one day you probably will, because I'll finally get to talk about it. Until then, I bid you all good night. I hope that you rest in your homes without worrying about a government coming through your door, because no one wants that. And until next time, guys, I bid you farewell. Peace. Peace.